on my next steps, but I just want everybody else to be okay.
Now, who you're listening to there, her name is Royal. She was one of the more talkative residents, but there were quite a few who were very emotional, so I didn't play those sound bites for you there. I'll let you know what we do know now is firefighters say they were able to check most of that building. They're working now to inspect the remaining areas, make sure that no one is inside and whatnot. The damage section of the complex will remain off limits while the investigations continue and while the utility crews try to assess that damage and try to figure out how they're going to move forward. So there's the latest there on that. Now, I also want to bring you out to another part of Georgia. We have been covering this, I believe it's now been a week since we heard about this art studio that went up in flames as well. So it's another fire to talk to you about. But I want to pose this for y'all streaming with us. Just a question I've always been curious about. Do you also wonder what happens when the live truck or the news truck rolls away from a scene, like when the reporter or the director yells cut, the lights and the cameras, they go away? What happens to those people who we've been talking to on the worst days of their lives? This story that I'm going to bring you now is a perfect example of what happens after. Just a week after we had that horrible fire at that art studio, we know multiple artists lost their works, sometimes putting in their blood, sweat, and tears to those masterpieces. We got to hear how they're coping now and what they plan to do moving forward. Our photojournalist Eli Jordan actually went out to the scene today, so let's listen to that one.
Yeah, I'm down here at the South River Art Studios where last week, 1 week ago this morning, fire erupted here at the complex, affecting 30 artist tenants. And, you know, this is where artists come for inspiration, to work, and to make their living. And it's already tough enough as an artist to make a living, and then having the fire on top of it to destroy your tools, your works that you might be selling for Christmas or have already commissioned. It's just completely devastating for so many. And someone here who has experienced this, a woodworker, John Cable, and his partner, Willow Goldstein. John, tell me, you know, how tough has this been for you guys?
It's been devastating. Just me personally and my studio mate, it was a total loss. A lot of people here, you know, lost most of everything. It's been devastating, but having the community here, having each other, it's been really all that's getting us through right now. It's all that's important for us right now and taking the next steps.
Now, you've lost a lot of tools, about $15,000 worth. You say you're still are realizing more and more as you sit at night thinking about the situation. But you've had a lot of help with the GoFundMe, correct?
Yeah, we've reached our funding, which is going to go a long way to getting me back on my feet. And yeah, I lost, it was tools and materials. That stuff can be replaced, but a lot of these artists, it was works that they'd poured a lot of time into, and they'll never get that back. And it's just, that's the worst part.
It can be heartbreaking. Your heart and soul goes into unique items and, you know, things you're proud of, and maybe potentially make a lot of money and just, you know, make your life better and get you on, you know, recognize an artist. Things are destroyed. It's just your life's work. Now tell me, the GoFundMe, you guys have reached your goal, but there's others here that are, you know, still are lacking goals, right? And people can help out by going to the website, right?
Yeah. The SouthRiverArtStudio.com. There's links for all the GoFundMes there. Yeah, there's still a lot of artists here, a lot of makers that need help. The South River, in general, there's a GoFundMe for that, and reaching those goals is going to go a long way to get us back on our feet. And,
you know, seeing that a lot of these shops here are condemned because of the fire and structure damage here. But also, too, Willow, your partner here, Willow, she has the supermarket, ATL, down in on North Highland, correct?
Correct.
And you guys are holding a fundraiser there for all the artists this Sunday at 8 p.m.?
Correct. So Unsteady has put together the first fundraiser. There'll be a couple acts playing, and then we also have a painting class, a movement yoga class, and another fundraiser in the works. And
if people wanted to know more about that, they would just go to the
supermarket, ATL.com, or check us out on Instagram or other social media platforms.
SupermarketATL.com. And you guys are at 638 North Highland if they want to come.
Correct.
And that's a fundraiser for the South River Art Studio artist tenants that have lost almost everything, if not everything, here on this fire 1 week ago this morning. And, you know, John is just one of approximately 30 artists affected, and they're still trying to go on. Real quick, just tell me about the community here, because I think, you know, I'm getting a vibe that that's one of the, you know, one of the most important things to, you know, keep going here, because it seems like this is a very inspirational community.
It's beyond inspirational. I mean, you know, we learned about the fire and no one was hurt, you know, no dogs, no people, and having the community here, it's the only thing keeping us going right now. We're very tight-knit. Coming in here every day, it was such an inspiration, just seeing what everybody was working on, just learning, talking, and you know, we're trying our best to all stick together. We don't want to lose that, and we won't. You know, we're all still around. We're all still gonna do this thing.
Well, hopefully in time things will work itself out. You know, we're just here at the initial stages of this recovery, and hopefully things can work out and get back to the normal, as close to the normal as you guys have experienced. And that's the situation here at the South River Art Studios. If anybody's interested in helping out, you can go to southriverartstudios.com for the other GoFundMes, or you can go to the supermarketatl.com, where there will be an 8 p.m. fundraiser at the supermarket at 638 North Highland Avenue this Sunday evening at 8 p.m. You can help out the South River artists and be a part of this recovery effort, what they lost in the fire a week ago today. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much for bringing that to us, Eli. A very big, important story as we try to bring you guys more stories about our community, how people are helping out. That's one of the beautiful things that I see about working in news. Unfortunately, we sometimes have to bring you those tough stories, but then I'm also able to bring you these stories where people are trying their best to help other people out. And so just sometimes you got to find the silver lining in each story there. All right, so we're going to keep the ball rolling. Want to bring you now out to Coweta County. You guys, it's never a dull day. We have our photojournalist and our reporter, Doug Evans, on standby. Now, Doug, I understand that you have been covering an arrest after a pretty violent armed robbery. So what are you learning about this, and what else can you bring us today?
Hey, good afternoon. Listen, at this exit off of Interstate 85, this has been kind of a notorious exit here in Coweta County with lots of crime over the years, and Fox 5 has covered it extensively. They had an armed robbery at the Shell station here on Sharpsburg-McCullum Road just off of Interstate 85 on November 10th, in which the robber goes in with a handgun, pistol whips the clerk at like 3 a.m. I'm told that the person was not, you know, seriously injured, but nonetheless, can't be any fun getting hit with a gun, right? Well, they've made an arrest now. Glad to tell you that. Let's roll some video now and show you who they've arrested. His name is Andrew Jackson Chitwood, and he's 47 years old. He's from Newnan. He was immediately identified as a suspect, according to the investigators that I talked to, and they arrested him earlier this week on a traffic stop and got him out of the car, put him into handcuffs, and he's now in the Coweta County Jail being held without bond, charged with armed robbery. Now, this is an intersection that I was kind of alluding to the problems here, and we've covered them extensively. Just down the road to my left here is a Hardee's and a Texaco station. I've covered robberies, armed robberies, burglaries at all of those. To my right, just down this way, is a Waffle House, and guys, I can't tell you how many times the Waffle House has been robbed in an armed robbery back when that was a thing a few years ago. It had been kind of quiet here, had kind of settled down, and the Coweta County Sheriff's Office has had kind of enhanced enforcement at this intersection here, at this highway exit ramp, trying to keep these businesses safe, and that's been working. Made a lot of arrests, and then this happened, but they jumped right testified on it. They've made an arrest, and now this person is in jail.
Doug, I mean, the details of the story are absolutely insane. I consider you are a resident expert in all things Coweta County. So you mentioned there that they had said things had settled down in this area, and then now we're seeing this.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily pointing to a trend as it is pointing to the history of this particular intersection off of Interstate 85. Let me just show you what we're dealing with. Come on.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Let me reverse the camera. Okay, there you go. So that's an exit ramp off Interstate 85, and you see this is a busy area. It's the proximity off of the interstate, the first exit in Coweta County, that they think draws so much crime to this area. Down on the other side, beyond those lights, that's the Hardee's that I was talking about. I've covered crime there. There's a Texaco station right next door. I've covered several things over the years, burglaries, armed robberies at that Texaco station. And then let me flip around there. There's your Shell station. That was the latest scene, right? And then and then you see my kind of dirty car in the background. Sorry about that. There you see the Waffle House, right?
Yeah.
That Waffle House. Golly, guys, I've covered at least 2 armed robberies where these guys go in and take over the whole thing. But again, that was a couple of years ago, right? That all of this crime was happening. And so it wasn't happening frequently lately. And that's the good news, and I think that targeted enforcement here has been helping in that effort. And let me tell you, when this thing was hit over here, they were on it right away. Gosh, there's all kinds of things going on in terms of license plate readers, significant patrols in this area. They were able to identify this guy pretty quickly and get him into custody.
So now, Doug, let me ask you this. I am thinking about the victim in this, the person who was pistol whipped. Wasn't expecting that, of course. Have you heard how they are doing now? Are they in recovery? Have you heard anything about them?
Yeah, I'm told that it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
I don't know what that means when you've been pistol whipped, hit with a handgun during a violent armed robbery, but I'm told that they're okay. I'm sure there's some emotional trauma there, right? That stands to reason.
Yeah. I mean, anytime somebody, even if it was just a simple robbery, anytime somebody's robbed, it kind of robs them also of that sense of security and, that personal space. So I can only imagine when you add getting violent in there. But again, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. I know you're also going to be joining us on our broadcast for sometime maybe in 4, 5, or 6. If people keep watching, essentially they'll be able to get a little bit more on this story. So I appreciate you joining us here on the stream. All right, bringing it back in to me here in studio, you guys want to remind you that yesterday was a whirlwind day out on Capitol Hill. Congress voted, both the Senate and the House of Representatives voted to release the Epstein files. Now, of course, that vote will have to go to President Donald Trump's desk, which is a news headline in and of itself. People are wondering whether or not he is going to go ahead and sign it and then release those files to the public. But what I can tell you is that this bipartisan bill would require the Justice Department to turn over documents from the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier that you got to see on your screen for a second there. Democrats latched onto the Epstein matter after some suspicions of President Donald Trump's being associated with him. You probably remember around last week, we heard that emails were released that had some pretty serious accusations attached to them. And while the president initially opposed the disclosure for that bill, he conceded after it was pretty clear that there was a considerable amount of Republican support, including our very own Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who he's had some issues with in the past. Now, something that's important to note is the vote split there. It was a vote we heard where only one Republican voted to say no. And so I want to talk to you about who that one lone Republican was. This lawmaker's name is Republican Congressman Clay Higgins. He says that he was worried about details of innocent people being released when those files go public. Now, he said that he would have voted for it had the Senate made amendments that addressed some of the victims' privacy and people who are named in those documents, but not criminally implicated. Now, 3 Democrats did not vote at all. I want to make sure I'm also telling you their names. We know that it is Representative Don Beyer of Virginia's 8th Congressional District, Representative Greg Casar of Texas's 35th Congressional District, and Representative Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey's 11th Congressional District. So we had the one lone Republican who voted no, and then we had 3 Democrats who did not vote at all. Everyone else voted yes. They wanted to go ahead and release the document. Then, of course, as we know, it now goes to President Donald Trump's desk. So we'll see what happens from here. Now, big question I've seen all over social media. Everybody is wondering, am I going to get a $2,000 stimulus check? Well, the answer is not exactly clear, but here's what we can tell you. Here's what we are learning about the potential stimulus payment for November 2025. Now, the last time we received a stimulus check was in 2021, right? So, you shouldn't, if I can tell you anything right now, is don't bet on it. Don't go ahead and spend money that you don't have in your hands or in your pocket just yet. Right now, all we know is these are rumors spreading that the federal government could issue quote-unquote stimulus checks before the end of the year. Congress has not passed any legislation that authorizes payments, and the IRS has not confirmed that any new stimulus checks are scheduled in the coming weeks. So don't think that for the holidays or even for Black Friday, you're going to have an extra $2,000 in your pocket. It's not that simple. In 2024, the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, announced that they would issue automatic payments to eligible people who didn't claim the recovery rebate credit on their 2021 tax returns. So if you've been hearing the number $1,400 floated out there, it's probably about that 2024 payment. A lot of us here in Georgia remember getting that. We also know that there is a random number floating out there about $1,702 or maybe $1,390. Those 2 particular amounts can be traced back to state level programs like Alaska's Permanent Fund Dividend. We also know that many of these amounts that we're hearing out there, hearing that you could get some money, are really just scam posts. There are scammers banking on you not paying attention, giving away your information, and then they're able to either take money from you or maybe even take it over your identity. So here's what you should do. IRS is saying be cautious. When you hear all of this news and see some of the stories on social media about these stimulus payments, don't click anything. They are designed to try to trick people into giving over their information. And just want to go over real quick a couple of ways that you can tell if it's a scam or if it really is the IRS. The IRS will never make contact with you over email, through text, and definitely not through social media. Scammers will usually be making fake accounts and they'll be sending links to your DMs. It is not the IRS trying to reach you over Instagram. I promise you that. The IRS also begins communication with an official letter or notice that would be received through a secure IRS online account or customer service. And in terms of calling you, the IRS will never call and threaten you, have a pre-recorded message, or demand payments from you. Private agencies may be contacting taxpayers, but only after written notice. So here are just a couple of ways you can tell if it's really the IRS or if it's just somebody trying to get a little extra money from you. All right, you guys, with that being said, we are going to go ahead and move on. When we come back, we have to talk to you about some breaking news that we got a couple of hours ago where we heard our quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons will be out a lot longer than we originally planned for. We'll be right back. guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. We got some pretty crazy news earlier into the newsroom here, and I want to make sure I get it out to you. New today, according to the Atlanta Falcons, our star quarterback, you see them there on your screen, Michael Penix Jr., will be out a lot longer. Not just the 4 games that we originally planned for with an injury, but we're actually learning that he may be gone for the rest of the season. This is a season-ending surgery that he's going to have to undergo. Penix left Sunday night's game against the Carolina Panthers in the 3rd quarter with an injury to his left knee. He'll need full reconstruction surgery, and he'll be out for 9 months to recover. Honestly, you guys, it kind of feels like this kid can't catch a break, because earlier this year he missed a game while suffering from a bone bruise to that same knee. Now, during a news conference on Monday, Falcons head coach Raheem Morris wasn't ready to count him out just yet. He was really trying to hold on to hope there that a second medical opinion would clear all of this up. But just 2 days later, here we are. So a few hours ago, Coach addressed the media with this breaking news. I'm going to let you listen to his remarks there in full.
The news of Michael's tear.
Yes.
How will you all, what's your timeline now? It's Kurt
So,
the rest of the season.
Yeah, so today we'll have Kurt, obviously he's our starting quarterback, going out there and playing for us. We'll sign Easton Sticks to the active roster, get him acclimated and all the things that we got to get done for him to get an active roster. And we'll sign Cal Trask to our practice squad, bringing him in today, doing some of those things to move forward, to continue the rest of the season in order to go find a way to get a win this week.
Have you been able to talk to Michael?
I have good spirits. Obviously, hardened young man, toughened young man, hard on all of us. Tough injury that he's got to go through again. He's dealt with it. But what we know of Mike and all the stuff that we've done from our research, from all the injuries, come back stronger. We feel really confident that this will be the same way. I have no doubt that Mike's going to attack this rehab and attack all the things he has to get done to be ready for his team and ready to go as soon as possible.
And then now moving forward, how will the offense look different with Kurt at the control?
Come on in. I'm not that kind of guy.
What might that look like as Kurt gets back in the saddle and runs operations?
Obviously, you do the things that Kirk's going to be able to do well. So we'll be able to go out there and tailor the thing around Kirk, tailor it around our offense around Kirk, all the things that we want to be able to do with him, some of the things he's done well in his past, some of the things he's done well with us. We'll be able to go out there and do all those things in order to go get a win. And Kurt, obviously, I have a big input in that, and we'll listen to him and take his input and be able to go out there and practice things we need to get practice. So we'll definitely tailor his offense the rest of the way around Kirk Cousins.
Raheem, it's a full reconstructive surgery for Mike's left knee.
It is a partially torn ACL.
Full reconstruction.
And I don't know the answers to that. I just know we're getting surgery and the season's going to end. And we'll do that sooner rather than later. And then all those things will be coming back. I don't know the exact terminology of that. I just heard season end and probably turned my brain off after that part. But I know he's going to get it all done. I don't know what the titles when you say full. I just know it's a partially torn ACL.
Do you know anything about? Because ACLs could keep someone out for potentially a full year, right? Calendar year. Do you know a timetable? Don't
have a timetable. Obviously everybody's different, just like you said. But it was really positive news from all the doctors that kind of looked at it. It's been looked at multiple times, by multiple doctors. That's why we didn't want to come out and say the other day. Let everybody look at it, get a feel, come up with the right thing for the organization and for the young man, and make those decisions moving forward to go ahead and work on it and get it done.
Do you expect Michael Penix to be the Week 1 starter in 2026?
It'd be hard for me to say no right now. I got nothing but confidence in Mike bouncing back, doing the things he needs to do in order to get there, to get to that point to be able to go out there and play for us. So, and all it is a guesstimation by me. So, no medical information whatsoever.
You know when the surgery will take place?
I don't. I just know it's going to come up very soon. That it'll be sooner rather than later. I know that. It's not today. He's here with us today and all those type of things. So it'll happen sooner rather than later, to make sure we can get those things underway and within efforts of getting him back as quickly as possible.
What gives you confidence that Kirk Cousins can be the quarterback that we saw in the beginning of the year last year, especially because he was saying he wasn't maybe fully healthy last year, but he's had time to sit and watch now?
Allison, I just think, he started the season for us last year, didn't start off as well, right? Remember, we played Pittsburgh, kind of struggled a little bit. We were able to go out there and be competitive. Once he got rolling, we were able to get some really good games off to one of the career best games that we had in Atlanta history. So, like, we just got to find a way to get him back to those moments and those things, and he's got to find his way to be able to do those things as well, which I feel really good about. Just watching him in practice and watching him in training camp and watching him go through his process over the last couple of months, I feel like he'll be able to go out there and execute and do some things for us really well. He doesn't provide us confidence in that way that he'll be able to do those things for us.
Does it help in a time like this having like a veteran quarterback like Kirk Cousins as your backup and coming in and starting? There's 100% no doubt about that. You know, it was the whole purpose of, you know, I know it was a whole rush to, you know, move on and do all these other different things, but when you talk about a great human, you're talking about a guy you know can play, a guy that you got a lot of belief in, a guy that led us to a 6-3 record last year, and will be asked to he'll be called upon again.
Easton Stick, how do you feel he did? I know it's a while back, but
I know.
Season, he's got 4 starts under his belt in the league. You know, with him being one play away for it.
He played well for us, you know, in the preseason. Did a lot of really good things with a lot of wideouts playing for right now, whether it be David Sills, Chris Blair, a bunch of those different guys he was able to play with Drummond in the preseason. So we've seen him run around a little bit, give us some mobility. We've been able to watch him throughout the course of this year on our practice squad. He's actually been my quarterback when I'm giving the defensive service and being able to go out there and call a couple things for him and let him go out there and spin it. He knows the offense. He's well-versed in the offense. He's really opinionated about the offense. He's played in the league for a long time, been around a lot of really good coaches, been with us for a while, and got a lot of confidence in him coming in, being a backup, being sharp, and being ready if called upon.
Do you feel like you have to change what might have been your offseason quarterback plan, given the uncertainty around Mike, and that, you know, you don't know when he'll be back, and you've got to sort of guard against the future? So
you do. 100%, Josh. To answer that in the shortest possible way is yes. Right? You definitely got to go out and make some different plans when you talk about the offseason, but we'll talk about that and address that when we get there. You know, right now we got to prepare for the New Orleans Saints, and that's what we'll do. But that's always got to be something that's on your mind regardless, and definitely puts it on your mind a little bit more with this happened.
Losing a quarterback is always...
I'm sorry. I'll come back, Josh.
Losing a quarterback is always a very emotional thing for a team. I mean, what do you make of the mentality of your team right now?
I would say the mentality of the team is going to be based on the leadership of the team. And obviously, the other day, I was hurt for the kid. You know, it really was. And it hurt me and it hurt him. And I was able to be around him and support him as much as I possibly could. He's got a great support group, whether it be his father, whether it be his future wife, all the people that he has at his home. And I wanted to be there for him at that moment. So it was less about the selfishness of myself. It was more about him. And then as you quickly adjust, you adjust to your football team and you address the team. And you're able to talk to those guys very clearly and put the confidence in Kirk that we do have and that we all have, that he was able to go out there and do the record he did last year for us. You're able to talk about it with, you know, really the ownership group, really all our powers to be, whether it be Terry, whether it be Greg, whether it be anybody in the organization, and just know that we can reset and refocus and be able to go out here and find a way to get a win because he's capable of doing it. He's done it in the past. We know we can. And now we got to go out there and execute.
What did y'all like?
I'm sorry, Josh.
I was just going to say, obviously your medical evaluation of Michael in the draft process was rigorous. Do you feel like there was anything more you could have done, given understanding that this is a different knee and
yes.
sort of a new injury?
You know, I got a lot of confidence in what we did as far as the draft and everything that happened. You know, stuff in this game happens. Injuries happen all the time. You got to prepare for those things. The one thing we say about Michael is we know what it's like to be battle tested, and he's shown us that before. And, you know, the last injury he had was 21. I believe it was shoulder. I think he had the last knee was in 20. And he's done a comeback stronger every single opportunity he's been given. And when, you know, I think his famous line was, you know, check his EKG, and it's no different now. Like, the guy's going to come back stronger for us. You know, this organization believes in him. His coaches believe in him. His guys believe in him, and he's going to come back strong for us. So, like, you know, anything you could have done, anything you could have tried to, you know, foresee, it is what it is. You know, all those things going to go about the process and do those things, but you got to get your grades. You got to be able to go out there and have the confidence. You got to be able to bounce back and play.
What did you all like about Kyle when you all evaluated the quarterback group?
You know, Kyle's been in, you know, obviously in the league for a while. He's obviously served a lot of time at our rival. He's been able to go out there and be a backup for a while, be able to be in that supportive role. He'll come in and be able to give us some. Is that David Bassett? I mean, any one of you guys could have done that, but David? Oh, man, he could have. But Kyle's been a while. Like, he gives a lot of confidence being able to come in here and fill the role that he needs to do. Obviously, we got a lot of catching up to do with relationships and knowing who he is exactly from a person, from a standpoint, what he can handle, some of those different things. But we'll figure that out as we go.
Coach, is the surgery going to be done here or by one of the surgeons for the Falcons? Or?
All that's still in process, right now. That's why you don't have a real timetable. You got to get all those things in process. It's truly the case. I don't like to hide things from you, but it's truly the case of all in the process right now. What we're going to do.
Thank you.
You mentioned Monday that at this time of the practice week before Kirk's first start of the season against Miami, there was more uncertainty that you guys had to kind of prepare for both quarterbacks. How important is it for Kirk to have these reins from this day on?
Charles, I think it's really important. He went home on Monday knowing that was the case. He got a chance to prepare himself. He comes in on Tuesday, he gets his off day. He gets to get a chance to get his body right, gets a chance to get an early jump on everything he wants to look at. He gets a chance to come in here today, get the install. The install's for him. The install's about him. The install's about him and moving the offense. Now the install's going to happen. We'll go out and we'll have a full practice day. We'll be able to come back, be able to watch that stuff. We'll be able to get our walkthroughs, the other things that we need to do to prepare us for a great Thursday, to go out there with pads, be physical as we possibly can be in practice setting, come back on a Friday, have a fast Friday, come back on a Saturday, have a walkthrough, clean everything up that we need to get cleaned up, go into it with a full preparation week on a Sunday. And that's a big, huge difference for a quarterback, given the situation. The last time was a lot of uncertainty, during the week. Was he going to play? How can he do it? Mike tried to go out there and do some different things, so it took a little bit of that time. Nothing against Mike. That's just the nature of the beast. And playing a backup role and playing a starting role is completely different in the National Football League.
Wow, a lot of emotions we heard there. A little sadness, a little worry, also a little laughter somewhere in there. I will tell you, what I do know about all of this is it's such a good thing that we have had some insurance in Kirk Cousins, some very expensive insurance by having him on the roster, but I'm sure everybody is excited and happy to know that we do have him stepping up into the quarterback role. Now, I do want to let you keep in mind that star receiver Drake London is also going to be out. He's out with a knee injury. Now, he also left Sunday's game in overtime with a PCL sprain. Coach Morris said that London is what I call week to week. We still have Darnell Mooney and Kadero Hodge as starting receivers, though. Kirk Cousins, again, will step in for QB in Penix Place. And this Sunday's away game against the New Orleans Saints is going to be an interesting one, to say the least. All right, you guys, we're going to move on from sports. Just had to get that breaking news in for you guys, let you hear exactly what Coach Morris had to say about all of this. When we come back, though, we have a more heartwarming story to share with you all. A woman who told us that she's beat lung cancer. We'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. I'm excited to be able to bring you some good news in this hour. Want to get you out soon to our reporter, Kevin Stewart. He's been talking to this woman. She said that she developed lung cancer, which is crazy for her because she's never smoked, and usually that's the thing that you think of. If you're a smoker, you're more susceptible, right? But we are learning now, especially through Lung Cancer Awareness Month, that anybody could be at risk. Now, anyway, Kevin, I know you have been talking to her because not only did she develop it, but she says that she's beat it. Want to let you tell us what you've gotten to hear from this woman.
Yeah, let me introduce you to this woman. Her name is Joanne Curer. She was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer 4 years ago. She was 74 years old. She credits her faith, her doctors, and her determination, but she says the type of treatment she received is also a big key here. Lung cancer is the 5th leading cause of cancer deaths in the world. Doctors believe cures cancer can be traced to something called the EGFR mutation. That can cause cells to grow wildly and lead to cancer. So she was treated with a very specific medicine called osimertinib.
Thankfully, we see more and more miracles these days with the new tools that we have in our toolbox. Our patient, actually, we did find that she has this EGFR mutation, and hence we had a targeted therapy, a medication, a pill that targets these cancer cells and keeps the cancer at bay.
Well, obviously it is. She thinks it is. Because honestly, when I saw her the first time and she talked about what was going to happen, she said, "Joe, you've got about 2 years." And I went, "What? 2 years to live?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "No, that's not my plan." I said, "I'm here to 88.
Yeah, she was 78 years and full of feistiness in her. She is determined to live another 10 years, if not longer. As you noted, she said that she was diagnosed 4 years ago, and then she had to undergo this treatment, and how, she says that it was something that was challenging, but not as challenging as you would expect. She knows there are other folks who have a much harder time, but she says her state of mind, her determined attitude is really what helped push her through.
That is so beautiful to hear, and because I could just imagine there are a lot of people out there who, this is never something that you expect. I'm going to be diagnosed with cancer, but to know that someone got that kind of diagnosis, stood steadfast in her belief that she was going to get better one day, had a great doctor who was able to walk her through these treatments, is pretty remarkable. When you were talking to her, she did have that feisty spirit. We could hear it in the interview there. Did she say anything that really surprised you about how she took the news?
Yeah, that she took it pretty much in stride. I mean, that's a very difficult thing to hear, and that response actually came from when I told her, when I talked to her doctor, who I talked to first, that she says it's almost like a miracle, but she says we're seeing more and more of these miracles because of the tools that doctors have to work with precision medicine, targeting specific cells and mutations, and really getting a good sense of, what the patient's body is and what specifically will work for them, not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Got you. And then my last question for you, because I know you're also still getting ready for the news ahead and our broadcast, but talking to the doctor there, I believe I got to interview her for Fox Local on one of our weekends, but did she tell you a little bit more about the treatment and whatnot?
Well, one thing that really stood out, and, I think anecdotally, I think we kind of all think, oh, smoking, cancer.
Yeah.
The one thing that she really pointed out that I thought was really interesting is that about 20% of cancers, lung cancers, are not associated with smoking, just like Ms. Cure. So I thought that was particularly interesting. We kind of know that, and we know, but it was a good idea. It was good to hear her give a good number, because you wondered, okay, well, just what is the ratio? So she says it's roughly about 20% of people who are diagnosed with lung cancer don't smoke at all.
The other thing that I was hearing when I did my own interview too, it was that it's also, we're seeing younger people being diagnosed, which was mind-boggling to me, because again, we think about the smokers, we also think maybe older, something that you've been dealing with for a while, some sickness, and then it turns into cancer. But just learning that the statistics are showing that it's changing.
Yeah, and you know, and one of the things that's interesting, she's 78. She graduated from flight school in 1970, and of course, we know you go back many decades ago, smoking was much more common. You know, most young people now don't smoke tobacco, at least, and they believe that she was a flight attendant, so when she first was diagnosed, she thought maybe it was the secondhand smoke, because back then when she first started working, people were allowed to smoke on airplanes, even though, you know, she didn't smoke. But in this case, the doctors believe it was that gene mutation that they believe is linked to her cancer.
Okay, well, all of this is extremely interesting. I know you've been working really hard on this piece in particular. I believe that we're going to have an article up for you on the Fox Local app, as well as fox5atlanta.com, for those people out there who are listening, think this may be interesting, or wonder if a family member may be going through the same thing. We'll have a lot more information and some details available for you there. But Kevin, thank you for making time for the live stream.
Sure, yeah.
All right, coming back in here, you guys, we're again going to keep the ball rolling with some other news of the day. Pretty soon, I'm going to be able to talk to a man who is out of this world. It's a man who is NASA trained, and now he spends his time teaching a little bit about science and how it can be fun, and teaching us a little bit about what's going on beyond the skies. I have an interview with Jonathan Brackett when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Judea Murray. Now, pretty big news. The Artemis 2 mission is gearing up to launch early next year, and with commercial space exploration expanding faster than ever, one local educator is doing his bit to help make the universe feel a little closer to home. Joining us today is Jonathan Brackett, a NASA-trained solar system ambassador. He's also a space science educator based in Gwinnett County. Now, Jonathan, first of all, thank you so much for joining us here on Fox Local. This is very, very cool to me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, first question for you. For people who are hearing your title for the first time, I understand, want to make sure that I get this right. NASA JPL Solar System Ambassador. What does that mean? What do you actually do?
Gotcha. So, as a NASA JPL Solar System Ambassador, we're a group of about 1,100 scientists, aerospace industry professionals, teachers, and museum people that volunteer our time to get trained and learn about NASA missions and programs, and be able to talk to students and community groups and the media. We like to go out to schools and encourage STEM education, and we like to talk to senior centers and let people know where tax dollars are going. So it's basically just covering general information about NASA and where we're headed.
This is awesome. Now, I have to ask you, you are based in Georgia, but what made you want to spread the education and went out to our schools and to the different organizations that you were talking about right here in Gwinnett County?
Gotcha. So I live in Gwinnett County, and I noticed that with the saturation of information that's out there that the kids are taking in, a lot of them don't realize that we have an active space program right now. They may hear a little bit about SpaceX here, they may hear a little bit about Blue Origin there, a little bit about NASA there, but it became apparent that kids today don't realize that we do have an active space program going on right now, and we're headed back to the moon.
Well, let's talk about that, of the Artemis 2 mission there. We're going back to the moon. Why is this such a big milestone for NASA and the future of human space exploration?
Yes, so of course everyone knows we had the Apollo missions in the 60s and ended in 72. And that was basically just a camping trip. We went for about 3 days at a time and would come back, and there wasn't a whole lot of time to do any serious work. Well, about a decade ago or so, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, the spacecraft that's orbiting the moon, discovered that there's water on the south pole of the moon in craters that are completely shaded. They never receive sunlight, and so that water is frozen. And so our mission now is to get to that water, which we can then separate into its elements of hydrogen and oxygen. And we have hydrogen for rocket fuel, oxygen to breathe, and we'll be able to go out a lot further than the moon. It'd be more efficient to build rockets for deep space exploration from the moon as opposed to launching them from the Earth.
Which again is just really awesome to hear about. I can't wait to actually see what they're able to bring back and teach us about here on Earth. I do know you've been recognized by some state governors for expanding that STEM education and access. What do honors like those mean to you as an educator?
Oh, that's a small part of it. The big part is when you're talking to a group of kids and you see a few kids in your audience that really get it and really understand how important STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math is, and they really want to be a part of where we're headed. When I was a kid, it was all about aviation and space flight, but the days of the test pilots and the military test pilots as astronauts are pretty much over. Now anybody can be an astronaut, and we're looking for scientists. We're looking for the geologists, we're looking for astronomers and biologists. And so right now, our current astronaut class is the most diverse class we've ever had.
So now, Jonathan, final questions for you. Like I said, all of this is really cool, and I want people to be able to learn a little bit more from you. So can you give us where people can follow your work, learn more about the Artemis 2 mission?
Yes, absolutely. NASA.gov is your first and foremost place for information, nasa.gov. As far as looking for information about a solar system ambassador, including myself in your area, I suggest you go to nasa.gov and /solar system ambassador.
Okay, I know that there is a teacher out there streaming with us, so it's just like, okay, check, that is going to be my next classroom visit. Thank you very, very much for joining us here, teaching us a little bit more about the Artemis 2 mission, getting us excited and amped up for it, and then we'll be able to keep up with you and your personal work as we continue. All right, thank you for joining us. Hey guys, bringing you a live look outside the city of Atlanta. It looks beautiful, but I am seeing some clouds. Want to get joined soon by our meteorologist, Lauren Robinson. Lauren, welcome to the set. Thank you for coming with us. What are we hearing about the forecast for the rest of today?
Yeah, as we go through the rest of the day, we're still going to stay pretty warm. So we have these temperatures in the 70s right now for most of us. Some areas even in the upper 70s. We're seeing 78 degrees in Rome and in Athens, 81 already in Eatonton. We're at 74 in downtown Atlanta, a tad bit cooler to the west, 68 coming in Carrollton. So these temperatures are well above average for this time of year, where we're usually peaking in the middle 60s. You can see most of us in the middle 70s, and of course, even some areas in the upper 70s to low 80s. So it is unseasonably warm. It's a bit windy out there. We're looking at those gusts coming in at Gainesville around 26 miles per hour, 11 mile per hour gusts in Athens. So as we go through the rest of the afternoon, we're going to see those gusts kind of pick up. It'll make it feel a tad bit cooler, but we're still going to be very warm as we head through the middle of November. We're still seeing this empty HD Doppler radar, this live Viper radar, not a whole lot happening, and that's because we are going to stay pretty dry, but we do have a little bit of cloud cover that's coming in behind this weak cold front, and that's what's bringing those cloudy skies. And we're going to look for some rain chances as we move through the next few days heading into the weekend. In the meantime, temperatures are still going to be the biggest deal. We're looking at these highs this afternoon in the middle to upper 70s. Overnight tonight, we only fall into the 50s, still above average for this time of year. So by the time we're waking up early tomorrow morning, upper 50s to low 60s to start your day. Now, we take a look at the 7-day forecast. We start our weekend with some rain chances Friday and Saturday, but by Sunday, we dry out a bit. You'll notice each of these days has highs in the 70s, lows in the 50s. So we stay above average overnight and through the afternoon, with temperatures not falling quite as much as they should this time of year, but a great few days to continue to go out and enjoy fall before winter really strikes.
High 70s right before Thanksgiving sounds wild to me, but we're going to leave you guys here with this 7-day forecast. The news continues at 3 p.m.
I haven't logged into TVU yet. I can't see the commercial break timing. So I don't know, actually. I think we're back anyway. You can start. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines with you, as I am every day at this hour, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. So happy you're with us, whether you're streaming on Fox Local, on your home TV, or you're on our streaming app on your mobile device, joining us on our YouTube channel at Fox 5 Atlanta, or listening to us on the radio 107.9 HD2 FM. We're certainly glad you're with us today. Want to take you right now to live pictures of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where a nearby explosion has people talking today. Somebody I ran into today said, hey, did you hear about the explosion near Mercedes-Benz Stadium? Of course, certainly I did, because it was late last night when an apartment building near the Benz blew up and burst into flames. One man rushed to the hospital. Tyler Fingert out there covering the story. He's been out there all day long. Tyler, we know this was some sort of gas-related explosion, but give us a few more details about what happened here.
Yeah, Tom, good afternoon to you. I'm going to tell you, you're saying it's right near Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I'm going to put it one step closer. I'm in the shadow of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It is not far from us, but take a look at the damage here. Investigators have been on scene for hours today trying to piece together exactly what happened. If you just look, there's just so much debris all over the ground here. I'm looking at insulation. I'm looking at pieces of siding, glass, pieces of wood, shingles, and then if you look up just a little bit more as we're panning up, you can just see how pieces of wood are just like coming down on the side of the building. Part of one of the windows blown out. The roof is gone in one area. Just absolutely amazing what happened here last night. And it's amazing from one standpoint because only one person was injured. Let's go to some video obtained by TMZ. It shows that man who was injured in this explosion being treated by first responders. Here's what we know about what happened. Atlanta Fire says a 3-story building under renovation blew apart, sending debris everywhere. Dozens of families had to get out with almost no warning. Firefighters got the call just after 10 last night about an explosion and fire at the Northside Plaza Apartments on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. They arrived to find a vacant building heavily damaged and confirmed the blast came from inside a unit under renovation. Officials say the building being empty likely prevented more injuries. One man was seriously hurt and taken to Grady Memorial Hospital, where he was last listed as stable. Crews searched the building and didn't find anyone else, but 40 people in nearby units were evacuated overnight. Residents tell us they woke up to the blast. One mother grabbed her 5 children and ran and said she saw the injured man just moments later. Others say they smelled gas for hours and made several calls and believe this could have been prevented. Fire officials say they're looking into those claims and still working to determine what caused the explosion. Take a listen to what residents told us a little bit ago.
I was just at home, minding my business, back leaned against the wall, just painting, hanging out, vibing, and explosion. So me and my stuff just all blew forward, Stuff started just flying off the walls and stuff.
Boom, explosion. My windows bust. I evacuated all 5 of my kids one by one, and we came out and somebody was burned.
Live. I just want to show you this damage and debris once again. It is just miraculous that only one person was injured in this case, and that person is being treated at the hospital again in stable condition at last check. Just so much debris everywhere. The courtyard for where the apartment complex is, there's debris all over that area. On the side of this building, there's just debris. I mean, this could have been so much worse. And I will tell you, I did speak to a man who actually pulled that injured man out of this building after that explosion happened. He said he was coming back, or heading home, I guess I should say, from State Farm Arena, where he was watching the Atlanta Hawks play last night. A disappointing loss there. He was on his way home. He heard the explosion. He rushed over here. He saw and heard the screams for help, so he rushed up the stairs to the 2nd floor and pulled the man out. We just interviewed him. We're going to have that part of the story coming up on Fox 5 News at 4, 5, and 6, and also right here on Fox Local. Tom.
Yeah, the Hawks were playing the Pistons last night at State Farm, Tyler, and what heroic actions by that guy that raced up to rescue that man. We can only imagine his condition tonight. Luckily, Grady, not too far away, where they have a very advanced burn unit. Usually the gas folks are out there till this whole thing can get contained, and I'm assuming that's the situation now. No more danger to anybody or surrounding structures.
Yeah, from our understanding, the situation has been contained. Right now, the part of what they're all out here for is trying to figure out what happened. As I said a few moments ago, some neighbors said that they actually reported smells of gasoline, not gasoline, but natural gas or gas smells back about 11 a.m. yesterday to noon. They called for firefighters. Firefighters came out here, tested the air quality, tested using a gas meter, didn't find any problems, said you're good to go back in. And then obviously just 10, 12 hours later, we were looking at this explosion here, which is just absolutely mind-blowing, because what firefighters have been saying is if you feel something is wrong, like a gas smell like that, call them. They did it, but unfortunately, though, nothing was found. The gas meter didn't read anything. At this point, though, it's unclear what caused that gas leak, what sparked it to go off. Those are all things that we're working to figure out.
Well, Tyler, unfortunately, because of licensing restrictions and such, we didn't get to see that TMZ video. Can you describe, because a lot of people are, I mean, this morning alone, I ran into like 2 or 3 people. Hey, did you hear about the explosion at the Benz last night? Describe to us, if you can, and given the fact that we really can't see it, but TMZ did provide some video of what we understand was the rescue of that guy?
Yeah, no, so the video that the TMZ had was of after the guy who was wounded or injured in this was outside on the front area of the apartment building after the man we interviewed brought him out. So that video shows him being helped by first responders at that point. And then you also see it panning around and showing the chaos that was unfolding as firefighters and police were arriving on scene to be able to start the process of trying to A, put out the fire, B, make sure that they got anyone else who was in that building out. Luckily, there was no one else in the building. And then also just the scene that was unfolding the first moments after police arrived and police and firefighters arrived on scene.
Some great reporting there, Tyler, there live from the scene near Mercedes-Benz. Tyler Fingert for us this afternoon. Tyler, thanks. Want to turn your attention now to Capitol Hill. These are live pictures where a bill to release the Jeffrey Epstein files will soon arrive on the president's desk. You know, the United States Senate approved that unanimously yesterday. Both chambers, matter of fact, approved the Epstein Files Transparency Act yesterday. The House approved it 427-1. Bipartisan bill would require the Justice Department to turn over documents from the investigation into Epstein, and we understand that certain redactions will be made to protect victims' identities and such. Democrats latched onto the Epstein matter after suspicion of President Trump's association with him. But that was denied not only by the White House, but the president himself, who said that he kicked him out of his country club when he did have relations with him, so to speak. He called him a creep, said he never associated with Jeffrey Epstein, and that was backed up by one of Epstein's victims, who later committed suicide, as a matter of fact, but said that Trump never had any kind of deeper association than that with him. But these files are going to reveal a whole lot more about what we know about Jeffrey Epstein and who might have been involved. While the president initially opposed the disclosure of the bill, he conceded to it after it was clear that there was considerable Republican support. Among that support, and something we've been talking about here over the past couple of days, our own United States Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from the northwestern part of the state, who's been pushing for just that. We interviewed her live here on Fox Local on the stream. You saw it if you were with us that day. The one lawmaker who voted no was Republican Congressman Clay Higgins. He says he was worried about details involving people who could be revealed. He said that he would have voted for it had the Senate made amendments and addressed victims' privacy and people who were named, but not criminally implicated. 3 Democrats didn't vote at all, including Representative Don Beyer of Virginia, Greg Caesar of Texas, and Mike Sherrill of New Jersey. President Trump did say this week that his promised $2,000 tariff dividend checks are coming by mid-2026. Boy, wouldn't that be great news, getting a $2,000 deposit in your bank account. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the checks, which again are a tariff dividend paid to most Americans based on their income, would come as the White House deals with an affordability crisis and would likely require an act of Congress to approve. A mid-2026 timetable means that the government would be putting a check in most voters' pockets on the eve of crucial midterm elections, a couple of which are going to be happening right here in Georgia. We have a U.S. Senate seat up for election. Senator Jon Ossoff, the freshman senator, will be defending his seat. The president floating the dividend checked idea for multiple weeks, saying that they could potentially range from $1,000 to $2,000. Lawmakers would need to present a bill that would have to pass the House, the Senate, and ultimately receive a signature from the president. But, and here's the big but, I don't know if you were paying attention a couple of weeks ago, but the United States Supreme Court heard arguments that would basically negate the president's efforts to impose tariffs on other countries unilaterally without an act of Congress. So how would that relate to the rebate checks if the government were forced to reimburse those companies tariffs that the administration had imposed? A lot of details surrounding this that we'll have to wait and see. Meantime, turning to a story here locally, and that is the weather. We're joined by meteorologist Alex Forbes. Alex, we've been enjoying some terrific weather the past couple of days. Warm temperatures out there, but if you look around the skies today, not only is it cloudy, but in certain parts of the metro Atlanta area, the skies look a little ominous out there.
Yeah, some low clouds out there, but it's really the tale of two stories across the metro. So we've got the cloud cover here in Atlanta, inside the perimeter, but look out towards Eatonton. They've been able to make their way towards 81 this afternoon because they don't have the cloud cover out there. 81 in Eatonton, 78 in Athens, 73 in Blairsville right now. I put on the satellite on top so you can see that disparity. 69, our cool spot right now in Carrollton. Meanwhile, where it's sunny in Rome, we've been able to get up to 79. So there we go, down into the 70s and 60s a little later on this evening. Warmer than we should be for this time of year. That's been the trend the past several days, and that's going to be the trend tonight, only getting down into the really upper 50s across the area. Then for tomorrow morning out there at the bus stop, it'll be a little cool out there. I personally could get by without a jacket, especially headed to 78 in the afternoon, but 59 is a little cold for you, then maybe you might want that. 77 in Atlanta tomorrow, but look at that. 15 degrees above average. 62 is where we should be for this time of year. 73 in Blairsville, 77 in Athens. We might be pushing 80 again on the southern and eastern periphery through the afternoon hours. Now, part of the reason why we're not all getting into the 80s is because of that cloud cover you mentioned. Look at this into tomorrow morning now. You see a mix of sun and clouds across the area, but then into the afternoon, generally speaking, north of I-20 sees more cloud cover than south of I-20, and that's going to throttle the temperatures a bit. Getting into Friday here, we're going to see the opportunity for some scattered showers, maybe even a storm or two. You see some of those oranges and reds in there. That would be in time for the Friday afternoon commute right before the Thanksgiving holiday, right? Getting into Thanksgiving week. That will also usher in, it looks like, some cooler temperatures towards the weekend. So we're putting a couple records in jeopardy. We backed off getting into the 80s tomorrow here in Atlanta because of the increase in cloud cover there, but still 78, well above the average high of 63, and still puts that 80-degree record in jeopardy. Something similar for Friday. And you can see as we get into next week, we'll be in the low 70s as opposed to the upper 70s, and that's going to come with a couple of rain chances as well ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday here across the metro area. So here's your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast now. A slim 10% chance of rain tomorrow with a slightly better chance, again, Friday late in the day, Saturday it looks like early in the day, and then our next chance of rain will be back in the picture on Tuesday. And the question that everybody's been asking.
Okay, Thanksgiving?
What's Thanksgiving looking like?
I thought you were going to say that.
So preface this with, it's 8 days out. We typically don't do an 8-day forecast. We do a 7-day forecast. So allow a little wiggle room, but it's a big enough change that I think it's worth bringing up. A high temperature of only 56.
Ah, wow. So the temperature's going the other way for Thanksgiving.
Yes. We'll have some rain right around the holiday somewhere in there. A cold front essentially coming through, and that's going to drop those highs. Some spots up to the north, you see the region there, 52 to 60. So low 50s up across the mountains, maybe pushing 60 down towards Eatonton. So much cooler than the days leading up to Thanksgiving on the actual holiday.
You know, that might be a little more appropriate for Thanksgiving, for it to be a little chilly instead of 76 degrees outside.
I just know a lot of parents are hoping that 20% chance of rain holds off because they don't want the kids running around the kitchen. They want them outside.
Get out.
Right.
Whereas my mother used to say, the kitchen's closed.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
Back to the weekend real quick. Those chances of rain Saturday, mainly Saturday, correct?
Right. So, and mainly Saturday morning, to be even more specific. I really think into the afternoon and evening, we're going to be clearing out across north and central Georgia. So any Saturday morning plans, not a washout. Don't get me wrong. It's still just a 30% chance of rain.
Passing shower
right
there.
Yeah, nothing I'd go canceling any plans over.
All right, Alex, good stuff. Thanks so much for joining.
Yep.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's a story we've been following here for the past couple of days. That is funding for our veterans in Fulton County. Angelique Proctor has been on top of it. She's been in Fulton County Commission meetings, and she's going to join us on the other side here. I can't hear her. I hear like a football game or something.
You should be able to hear me.
Yeah, I hear you. So
I sound like a football game?
No. They were putting something else in my ear. We have your first and second song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, we're back, guys. Welcome back. You're with us for the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. So happy you're here. I'm Tom Haines with you live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. You know, about an hour ago, the Fulton County Commission began discussing whether to restore $1 million to fund veteran services. Our Angelique Proctor was listening closely to that debate. Angelique, what is this money for exactly? You reported on this beginning yesterday, and are the veterans any closer to actually receiving it?
Well, Tom, this meeting started at 10 a.m. this morning. It is still going on. But like you said, the discussion regarding this $1 million for veterans came up just after 2 o'clock and went for about an hour. But I can tell you that for the sixth time this year, the Fulton County Commission has decided not to fund these veteran programs. It was quite a remarkable discussion that they had this afternoon. This was a piece of legislation by Commissioner Marvin Arrington to fund up to $1 million for lots of things, wraparound services for veterans. The day started, though, this morning. We have some video with Commissioner Bridget Thorne saluting veterans and giving them a proclamation just this morning. Then this afternoon, that legislation by Commissioner Arrington would have funded veterans programs, things like housing, mental health services, job placement, etc. Now, Arrington asked his colleagues to please prioritize veterans. Let's take a listen.
Hopefully you guys will support not only this resolution, but our veterans, and make sure that we are allocating the money. And it's up to $1 million. So if they only use 500,000 or they only use 250, then it's no problem, right? So hopefully you guys will support our veterans today.
But the measure failed, Tom, by a vote of 3-1. Commissioners Bridget Thorne as well as Bob Ellis both explained why they did not support the measure. Commissioner Thorne said members of the Veterans Empowerment Commission had come to her office and said they were disorganized right now and really need some more time to get some priorities together. Take a listen.
What are the types of things, if we're going to have a grant program, that we should specifically focus it on to generate and meet and fill those gaps, if you will, as opposed to just throwing money out there and it not really having some intention behind it where we can measure the results.
And if the board came forward, the Veterans Commission comes forward and says, we think we can use $1 million. Again, we've regrouped. We're working with these organizations. I would feel comfortable doing that. But right now, I feel like just saying, oh, I'm putting $1 million towards veterans. I don't know what's going to be done. I'm not going to be used. And every commissioner who doesn't vote for it's against it. So vote for me. I'm going to use it to buy votes.
So both of those commissioners voted against it. This measure did not pass. Now, Commissioner Arrington had asked the board to use the $69 million in surplus money, just $1 million of that. But as you see, there just weren't enough votes for it. What is unclear is whether this will come back up, because it certainly sounded like, in listening to Commissioners Ellis and Thorne, that they might be open to it if there was more accountability that went along with the money. So since the meeting is still going on, I haven't had a chance to talk with them to see if Commissioner Arrington will try to bring this up for yet a 7th time.
Well, this is one of those stories that sounds really good on the surface. Of course, veterans should have the money they need for services and what have you. This was money that was actually provided through the Federal American Rescue Plan Act through grants. And, you know, you can understand, on the one hand, their need for that money, Angelique, but on the other hand, you know, those two commissioners are basically saying, we're ready to provide that funding, but you guys need to provide us sort of a pathway forward as to how that money is going to be spent. We want the practicality of the measure in addition to providing the funding at the end of the day. I guess accountability to their constituents in terms of where that money is going.
Absolutely. And there are 50,000 veterans in Fulton County. So there are a lot of different organizations. Some organizations stood with Commissioner Arrington yesterday and said they needed the money. But then Commissioner Thorne said that some came to her office and said they weren't organized. So it's just a matter of, I guess, everybody getting on the same page if Fulton County is going to fund these programs.
So but then one has to wonder if there's sort of a central clearinghouse for veterans in Fulton County. In other words, one veteran ombudsman who can, you know, collectively gather all of these veterans organizations that are saying, hey, we need money, consolidate them, and then present that to the commission and say, these groups need the money, here's what we're going to do with it, instead of all these like disparate groups coming together and say, we need this, we need that. In other words, to more effectively make their case, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like that is definitely what needs to happen, because there was even some discussion of perhaps Fulton County staff getting in there and trying to decide and making priorities and coming up with the list. So they are talking about possibly having someone from Fulton County to do that. But that is, it sounds like, what needs to be done now.
All right, fair enough. Angelique Proctor, some really interesting details here about this situation that you're bringing to light, and we certainly appreciate that this afternoon. Angelique, thanks. Well, exactly 1 week ago, we brought you a story here on the stream about an art studio that went up in flames. It was a live shot from our own Eric Perry, who was standing right out there in front of this structure. And one of the questions we had was, you know, what was inside that structure, and what about the pieces of art that were in there? It was a massive fire that wiped out years worth of work and masterpieces from multiple artists, at least what they considered their own personal masterpieces. Well, our photojournalist Eli Jordan followed up on this situation, returned to the scene today, and met up with a couple of those impacted artists.
Yeah, I'm down here at the South River Art Studios, where last week, 1 week ago this morning, fire erupted here at the complex, affecting 30 artist tenants. And, you know, this is where artists come for inspiration, to work, and to make their living. And it's already tough enough as an artist to make a living, and then having the fire on top of it destroy your tools, your works that you might be selling for Christmas or have already commissioned. It's just completely devastating for so many. And someone here who has experienced this, a woodworker, John Cable, and his partner, Willow Goldstein. John, tell me, you know, how tough has this been for you guys?
It's been devastating. Just me personally and my studio mate, it was a total loss. A lot of people here, you know, lost most of everything. It's been devastating, but having the community here, having each other, it's been really all that's getting us through right now. It's all that's important for us right now, and taking the next steps.
Now, you've lost a lot of tools, about $15,000 worth. You say you're still are realizing more and more as you sit at night thinking about the situation. But you've had a lot of help with the GoFundMe, correct?
Yeah, we've reached our funding, which is going to go a long way to getting me back on my feet. And yeah, I lost. It was tools and materials. That stuff can be replaced, but a lot of these artists, it was works that they poured a lot of time into, and they'll never get that back. And it's just, that's the worst part.
It can be heartbreaking. Your heart and soul goes into unique items and, you know, things you're proud of, and maybe potentially make a lot of money and just, you know, make your life better and get you on, you know, recognize an artist. Things are destroyed. It's just your life's work. Now tell me, the GoFundMe, you guys have reached your goal, but there's others here that are, you know, still are lacking goals, right? And people can help out by going to the website, right?
Yeah. The SouthRiverArtStudio.com. There's links for all the GoFundMes there. Yeah, there's still a lot of artists here, a lot of makers that need help. The South River, in general, there's a GoFundMe for that, and reaching those goals is going to go a long way to get us back on our feet.
And, you know, seeing that a lot of these shops here are condemned because of the fire and structure damage here. But also, too, Willow, your partner here, Willow, she has the supermarket, ATL, down in on North Highland, correct?
Correct.
And you guys are holding a fundraiser there for all the artists this Sunday at 8 p.m.?
Correct. So Unsteady has put together the first fundraiser. There'll be a couple acts playing, and then we also have a painting class, a movement yoga class, and another fundraiser in the works. And
if people wanted to know more about that, they would just go to the
supermarket, ATL.com, or check us out on Instagram or other social media platforms.
SupermarketATL.com. And you guys are at 638 North Highland if they want to come.
Correct.
And that's a fundraiser for the South River Art Studio artist tenants that have lost almost everything, if not everything, here on this fire 1 week ago this morning. And, John is just one of approximately 30 artists affected, and they're still trying to go on. Real quick, just tell me about the community here, because I think, I'm getting a vibe that that's one of the most important things to keep going here, because it seems like this is a very inspirational community?
It's beyond inspirational. I mean, we learned about the fire and no one was hurt, no dogs, no people, and having the community here, it's the only thing keeping us going right now. We're very tight-knit. Coming in here every day, it was such an inspiration, just seeing what everybody was working on, just learning, talking, and we're trying our best to all stick together. We don't want to lose that, and we won't. We're all still around. We're all still gonna do this thing.
Well, hopefully in time things will work itself out. We're just here at the initial stages of this recovery, and hopefully things can work out and get back to the normal, as close to the normal as you guys have experienced. And that's the situation here at the South River Art Studios. If anybody's interested in helping out, you can go to southriverartstudios.com for the other GoFundMes, or you can go to the supermarketatl.com, where there will be an 8 p.m. fundraiser at the supermarket at 638 North Highland Avenue this Sunday evening at 8 p.m. You can help out the South River artists and be a part of this recovery effort, what they lost in the fire a week ago today. Back to you guys.
All right, Eli, thanks. Just so heartbreaking. We certainly help those artists get the help that they need. I want to take you to breaking news right now. Skyfox 5 over a situation. This is an accident. We understand somebody is trapped inside one of those vehicles at the entrance of a Tractor Supply Company located at 1565 Highway 81 in East McDonough. The entrance there currently shut down due to a diesel spill, we understand. And you can see folks out there trying to control the situation, throw some sand on the ground to absorb and mop up some of that fuel that may be on the roadway. As far as the entrapment is concerned, don't know the status of that as the pictures from Skyfox 5 go in and out. Believe that they're back right now. But again, this happening on Highway 81 in East McDonough. Skyfox 5 over the scene. As soon as we learn more about exactly what's happening here, you can see traffic kind of moving by in that area anyway. But folks on the scene, including fire and rescue, trying to resolve that situation. Certainly hope nobody was injured there. As we come back, we're knocking on the door of the holidays, and that actually means good news and potentially some bad news. As we head to break, we're going to talk to a guest who has a warning about stroke, particularly over the holidays, as we continue here. Welcome back. Appreciate you being here for the Fox Local 3 p.m. hour stream. I'm Tom Haynes with you live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom as we pass the half hour here just after 3:30 Eastern time. Appreciate you watching and streaming on Fox Local on your home TV or your device, your mobile device, or if you're joining us on our YouTube channel, certainly glad you're here. And of course on the radio, we're always on 107.9 HD2 FM. Certainly glad you're listening to us today. You know, we're all looking forward to the holiday season, so much to be joyful for as we gather with friends and loved ones, but it turns out there are some hidden dangers, perhaps, to the holidays that we're here to discuss. Among them, an increase in the dangers of having a stroke. How do those two go together? Joining us now, Kate Hainer, professor of occupational therapy at Samuel Merritt University. She's out in California and joins us now live here on the stream. Kate, thanks so much for being here today. So tell us, how do the holidays equal an increased risk of stroke?
Yeah, it's so clearly the holidays is a wonderful time for, but it can cause a lot of stress, and stress can cause increased hormones, that stress hormones, which increase your blood pressure, and increased blood pressure can lead to increased risk of stroke. There are also, and that stress could be just from the traveling, from preparing for the holidays, from having maybe stressful family dynamics. There are also, of course, changes in our dietary factors, because we often are eating foods we typically don't eat. So we may be eating increased sodium at our Thanksgiving and holiday meals, more saturated fats, and sugars, of course. And those, of course, will increase your risk of blood pressure increasing. And we will also have those certain particular individuals with diabetes and hypertension that are really prone to increased risk of stroke from changing in their diets.
You're right. It's something that we don't often think about, but you know, Thanksgiving Day, it's kind of a free-for-all in terms of what you eat, and you tend to consume a lot that day. I mean, everything is so good; it smells wonderful, but they are ingredients and an eating pattern that you're not in every day, and you kind of assault the body all at one time. Add to that, maybe you're drinking a little extra red wine that day. Yeah. And so what are, as we're gathered with our family and loved ones and friends, what are some of the sort of warning signs that we look for?
So when somebody's having a stroke, there are various signs and symptoms that an individual may have, but typically you'll see weakness on one side of the body, could be the right or the left, and in the arm and the leg. You may have slurred speech or increased difficulty speaking. Your balance may be impacted, and you may have some cognitive confusion. And there's also a possibility of having this sudden acute onset of a headache, which would be a different type of stroke than what's typical, but it's a hemorrhagic stroke. And so when somebody has these symptoms, you want to address them right away. One of the risks is that when you're during the holiday festivities, you're with family and friends, you don't want to interrupt that by saying, you know, I think I need to go to the emergency room. And so people sometimes delay that. But you can actually mitigate the effects of the stroke within those first few hours. So it's critical to go right in and see somebody if you have any suspicion of having a stroke.
Yeah, I often liken it, Kate, to drownings at, you know, birthday parties or pool parties or whatever, when I mean, I don't mean to marry the two together, but when people aren't necessarily paying attention to what's going on, especially parents or caregivers, and one kid disappears and the next thing you know, he's underwater. But the same goes for somebody who may be experiencing a stroke and really doesn't know it. There is that sort of golden hour, however, that you just mentioned about, and we're fortunate enough here in Atlanta to have a level 1 trauma center at Grady Hospital that's very, very good at treating things like a stroke, to get somebody to the hospital as soon as they can?
Yes, it's better to go and find out maybe it's not a stroke, and just protect yourself. I can't stress enough how many times I've seen clients that have had a stroke and just delayed calling somebody because they thought the symptoms might just go away.
Now, you as an occupational therapist treat people who have already had strokes and have been medically treated for them. Is there a way out of having had a stroke, or is it permanent, sort of unrepairable damage to the nervous system?
Yeah, so there are different levels of stroke. So you can have a very minor stroke, or what we call a TIA, transient ischemic attack, where it's just a short-term symptoms and then it clears. But a full-blown stroke, you're going to have different symptoms depending on where that clot caused lack of blood flow in your brain. That can definitely improve. Therapy can make significant changes even with a very severe stroke. So you could regain motor skills, regain speech, regain your ability to swallow if that's impacted, even regain your visual acuity, ability for tracking. Therapists, both physical therapists, occupational therapists, work with clients with strokes all the time. And then we work with the family members to make sure that they can also carry on additional therapies at home.
Well, before I let you go, Kate, and it's been terrific information and maybe something that we might not have thought about as we enter the holiday season, what am I looking for in terms of, am I at risk for having a stroke? In other words, is it somebody with congenital and persistent high blood pressure? Like, what are the alarm bells when I walk?
Having hypertension, which is a silent killer because we don't know when our blood pressure is up. We don't feel it. So oftentimes people are on medication for hypertension and then may stop that medication because they don't feel the hypertension and they don't really understand. The doctor hasn't explained to them why it's so important that they stay on the medication. So that's critical, is that you maintain your medication until you speak to a physician before you ever stop that. I've also seen many clients that have just decided to stop their medication and then had a stroke following that.
Well, again, such important information to think about as we head into the holidays. Kate Hainer, professor of occupational therapy at Samuel Merritt University out in California. Kate, thanks so much for being with us, and happy holidays to you.
You too. Thank you.
When we come back, boy, the news not good for our Atlanta Falcons. We're going to talk about an injury sustained and surgery for the team's premier player as we continue here. Welcome back, everybody. So glad you're with us here for the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom, joined by Rafael de los Santos from Fox 5 Sports. And today you are not necessarily the bearer of good news. We heard from Falcons head coach Raheem Morris earlier today about Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback, and the extent of his knee injury. We heard a couple of days ago that he injured his knee, but we didn't know how serious it was. And today we're hearing he needs surgery. So bring us up to date on the latest here.
That's right, Tom. On Monday, Raheem Morris came out in his usual Monday press conference following the game and said that Michael Penix was maybe it was going to be 4 weeks. That was what we were told on Monday, injury reserved. It might be a 4-week ordeal. Today, they came out and said that it's actually a partially torn ACL. He is out for the rest of the season.
Now, he's had a history of injuries, Raheem Morris telling us, and now we know the severity of this partially torn ACL. So this means he's out for the rest of the season. But what about his prospects going into next season and how he may recover from such an injury?
Raheem Morris said today that it's unsure. He could be the starter next season for the Atlanta Falcons. It could be Kirk Cousins. There is no set timeline right now for Michael Penix. It is all still second opinions being had. Surgery still hasn't come. They would like for it to be sooner rather than later, but there is no set-in-stone starter for next season. There is no set-in-stone date for his surgery as of yet.
All right, what does the rest of the season look like? Falcons haven't been doing great anyway, but tell us about the road ahead.
Yeah, according to Raheem Morris, he sent Kirk Cousins home on Monday. Kirk knew that he was going to be the starter against the Saints this weekend. On Sunday, it should be Kirk Cousins for the rest of the season. It should be Kirk Cousins. Accordingly, Easton Stick has been activated to the roster, to the active roster rather, and a new quarterback has been signed to the practice squad, Kyle Trask. Now, Falcons faithful might remember Kyle Trask for his days at Florida, where he was a Heisman finalist, which led to Kyle Pitts being the 4th overall pick in the 2021 draft by the Atlanta Falcons. So there is a Kyle-to-Kyle connection there. But as I said, it should be Kirk Cousins on Sunday. It should be Kirk Cousins for the rest of the season. Easton Stick will be the 2nd-string quarterback. Kyle Trask is expected to be the 3rd-string quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, we got a game against our rivalry, the New Orleans Saints, coming up this weekend. Kind of preview this game for us and how the two teams look going head-to-head together.
I think both teams have had a pretty rough season. I don't think the Atlanta Falcons expected to go into this game in the losing streak that they find themselves currently in. It is not the most premier of rivalries as we have seen historically or in the past, but it should be a game to turn the page. The Saints have been struggling, so have the Falcons. The Falcons do look like the stronger team, despite the fact that Michael Penix is injured. Kirk Cousins should step in. You still have Bijan Robinson. Drake London is week to week, and if they can get him back, he should be a huge weapon against the Saints. I do think it is a game that the Falcons can use to bounce back, especially after the bad news of Michael Penix's injury.
Well, man, not to put you on the spot, but there have been questions surrounding Raheem Morris and his own future with the team. We know that big organizations often make changes in the midst of struggle, and so we'll have to see what the future holds for Raheem Morris.
100%. Maybe perhaps like Drake London, Raheem could find himself in a week-to-week basis. I think it should start against the Saints. You got to go out there, win, establish yourself, bounce back. If it keeps going the way it has been going, currently on a 6-game losing streak, the end could be real close for Raheem Morris.
It's not looking so good. Rafael de los Santos from Fox 5 Sports. Rafael, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Want to take you live back to Washington, D.C. Always a lot going on there as we take a live look at the United States Capitol. The House Administration Committee is convening today to consider a ban on stock trading by lawmakers and their close family members. There have been stock funds, ETFs, if you will, that float around that, like, this is what this congressman is betting on in terms of the stock market. So you should put your money there. I've never bought into that or necessarily believed it. But now Congress is sitting down, taking some action against this. A bipartisan group of lawmakers unveiling the Restore Trust in Congress Act, which combines several past proposals that would put new restrictions in place about stock trading. We don't want our representatives having any kind of inside information on companies or legislation or regulation against those companies and then betting on them in the stock market. It erodes trust in our lawmakers, and so Congress is taking action. This coming years after an unsuccessful attempt time and time again to do just that. So if passed, lawmakers who violate the ban would face financial penalties equal to 10% of the value of their investments and would be forced to relinquish any earnings from the breach. Let's listen to what was said on Capitol Hill this morning.
I am greatly concerned and would like to know how many members of Congress and how many members of the President Trump's cabinet have used their privileged position and information for personal profit. Do any of you know? The last report, between 2019 and 2021, the New York Times found that 97 members, or 18% of Congress, traded stocks in sectors related to their committee work. In the 117th Congress, 78 violated the Stock Act by failing to disclose in a timely manner. We don't know exactly how many people in the administration have these types of conflict. You know, my constituents sent me to Washington to address their immediate needs. The rising cost of out-of-pocket costs that are making their lives extremely difficult, and to ensure that their government is working for them. They certainly didn't send me to enrich myself, and as one of the poorest members in Congress, I can say that with my head up, former 911 dispatcher. Members of Congress, the Trump administration and their relatives should not have a blank check to use privileged information to cash in while working families continue to struggle. I'm particularly concerned about public reports that Attorney General Pam Bondi, the person who leads the Department of Justice and is supposed to prosecute criminals and uphold our Constitution, sold up to $5.5 million in Trump media stock on the exact same day the president announced tariffs that sent that stock plummeting 13%. As head of the Department of Justice and a close friend of President Trump, she had access to information that working families in my district could never dream of having. And while she was gaming the stock market with special knowledge, families across the country were continuing to struggle with rising costs. And here we have our top law enforcement officer potentially using insider information to protect her personal wealth while regular Americans continue to be left behind. On February 11th, 2 days before President Trump announced his tariff plans that sent markets plummeting, Secretary Duffy sold up to $600,000 worth of stock across 34 companies. On that day of the announcement, he sold another $50,000. Secretary Duffy tweeted, and this is specifically disgusting to me. On that day, he tweeted that these tariffs are the culmination of his work on tariff policies, having worked directly with Trump's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, on reciprocal tariff legislation. This episode exposes a dangerous loophole. Senior executive branch officials can legally trade individual stocks even when they have access to sensitive market-moving policy information or lead the policies themselves. I'm left wondering what specific legislation reforms ensure that senior officials who shape policies that move markets cannot use technicalities to profit from their privileged access to information. Because right now, the message that we are sending hard-working taxpayers across America is that government service comes with a stock market advantage for those in power, but the market crashes for those paying taxes. Mrs. Strauss, is disclosure alone enough to make sure the powerful separate policy making from personal financial gain? And under current law, what specific mechanisms exist to investigate and prosecute a cabinet official like the Attorney General for potential insider trading?
Thank you, Congresswoman. The Ethics in Government Act requires covered executive branch officials to file financial disclosure statements annually with their agencies, and the agencies all have ethics officials that evaluate those for real or perceived conflicts of interest and then work with the executive branch employee or secretary or whoever to resolve any potential conflicts of interest that might exist, in whatever way is appropriate in that setting.
Thank you. I'm going to yield back to the chair.
The gentlewoman yields back. The gentleman from North Carolina, Dr. Murphy, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, that was a congressional hearing on Capitol Hill earlier today talking about stock trading among members of Congress. The Representative Norma Torres also mentioning the President of the United States and his decision-making as it relates to his own personal investments. So that issue getting attention on Capitol Hill this afternoon as we take a live look at the big board of the New York Stock Exchange. Stocks finally up this week, just barely, almost 70 points, as we end the trading session today in just about 4 minutes. All of the indices moving higher today as Wall Street looks to recover from that tech-led sell-off that's been happening really for the past 4 days. NVIDIA expected to report earnings after the closing bell today. So a lot of investors will be looking to NVIDIA as the beacon or the bellwether for which direction tech stocks are going to head. But the general stock market, the Dow Jones, S&P 500, and NASDAQ Composite have really taken it on the chin this week. So we'll see if this recovery can continue. That's going to do it for us here for the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines. We appreciate you being here this afternoon. The news continues right here, right now.
Fox 5 News at 4 starts right now.
More disturbing news for Atlanta Falcons fans. Michael Penix Jr. is out for the rest of the season. The Falcons naming Kirk Cousins as their new starting quarterback. What head coach Raheem Morris had to say about the shakeup in the Falcons offense. And a father now faces a criminal charge after an incident at his home. What police say he did after a neighbor's firearm blasted into his daughter's bedroom. A gas explosion ripped through a vacant 3-story apartment building in downtown Atlanta, injuring a man and sending debris everywhere. Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us today for Fox 5 News at 4. I'm Christine Spiro. That explosion is where we begin this afternoon. It all happened at the Northside Plaza apartment homes across from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Video obtained by TMZ shows a man being helped at the scene by first responders. Fox 5's Tyler Fingert spoke to a man who says he pulled the injured victim out. Tyler is live at the scene with more on what he had to say. Tyler.
Yeah, Christine, good afternoon to you. That man was at the right place at the right time. He says he was on his way home from the Hawks game last night when he heard the explosion. That's when he rushed here to the scene and he saw the destruction. You can see all the debris everywhere. He said he heard a cry for help, and that's when he jumped into action. A powerful gas blast tore through a downtown Atlanta apartment building Tuesday night, sending debris flying and leaving one man badly burned.
Heard an explosion. Sounded like a bomb had gone off.
Firefighters say the vacant building was under renovation when the gas explosion rocked the Northside Plaza apartment complex on Markham Street in the shadow of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Clayton Still was down the street on his way home from State Farm Arena when he heard it.
As we drove up, people were just kind of screaming bomb, and then we heard some kind of faint like, hey, we need help, we need help.
Still, who's a former service member, says when he heard the call for help, he knew what he had to do.
Yeah, I went up the stairs, ended up climbing into the second-story apartment building and, found the gentleman that had been burned, grabbed him.
His friend captured this picture of him just moments after he handed the injured man to waiting police officers. Medics rushed him to Grady Memorial Hospital, where he was last listed as stable.
So when I got up into the building, the individual that was in the building had some pretty severe burns. Kind of clothes were ripped, and obviously he was kind of shell-shocked.
Multiple residents say they smelled gas hours before the explosion and reported it. They say crews checked it out but found nothing.
The fire department told us it was okay, so I didn't really think nothing of it until the explosion. It was like the gas leak.
Royal lives at the apartment complex and says her unit was damaged in the blast, which concerns her about her safety. But she says the Red Cross wasn't able to help her.
There's cracks in my wall. There's literal cracks in my walls. So there's damage.
And back out here live, you can see all the debris that is still around this building. At this point, it's unclear what caused the gas explosion, but investigators have been out here for hours working to figure out what caused all of this. We are live in downtown Atlanta this afternoon. Tyler Fingert, Fox 5 News.
We were out there last night when it first happened, and people were really shaken up hearing this explosion late at night. Tyler, thanks so much for the live update. A Stone Mountain father now faces a criminal charge after an incident at his family's residence. We first told you about the incident last week. Her parents believe their 13-year-old is lucky to be alive after their neighbor's firearm blasted into her bedroom wall. We talked to the girl's father, Kenneth Colbert, who told us his neighbor, who is a DeKalb County police officer, accidentally fired her gun while cleaning it. DeKalb police have confirmed they have launched an internal investigation into the incident, but now Stone Mountain police have arrested the father. Colbert faces a charge of criminal attempt to commit a felony. According to the Stone Mountain police report, the father allegedly tried to get the officer to pay him $25,000 to not go public with the story. Colbert has bonded out of jail in DeKalb County. Let's get you caught up on your weather forecast as we look live here over Sandy Springs, the King and Queen building standing tall. We're seeing more cloud cover today than all that sunshine we enjoyed all this week. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacy joining us here now with a look ahead into the evening. Jonathan.
Sunshine on full display yesterday. Today, not so much. It was working part-time, if you will, because we definitely missed out on it. However, the mercury still managed to climb high as we returned back to the 70s, but we did it once again without much sunshine. Here's a look at Fox 5 Live Upper Radar. You can also see the satellite imagery showing that clouds continue to push in from the west, taking over the east and blocking any hope for sunshine for the remaining hours hours of today. Most of us have mostly cloudy skies at this point with temperatures in the 70s. 78 degrees in Dalton, Carrollton 70 degrees, 79 in Eatonton, Milledgeville you managed to get to 81, Cornelia 84 degrees, standing right at 75 in downtown. Go out to the airport, you're at 74 degrees. Temperatures about where they were yesterday, but the skies just look a bit eerier. We're not looking at big time downpours or storms on the way. In fact, some of you got some light showers this morning, but I think we're pretty much in the clear for the remainder of the day. Our temperatures have risen on the backs of a southwesterly flow of wind, right now currently sustained at 10 miles an hour. As we go through the next few hours, the clouds will not depart. The temperatures will fall from the 70s into the 60s, and we'll have a bit more of a northerly flow, a northwesterly flow of light winds. The clouds staying in place and even falling down to the ground first thing tomorrow morning, so some of you may wake up dealing with some pockets of fog. Here is the view as we go through the overnight hours. The clouds lay thick, and once again, it could be a little dicey in terms of visibility in some areas, not widespread, but more isolated as you wake up on a Thursday morning. Nonetheless, the temperature is going to keep on climbing, but the rain chances are about to spike. We're taking a look at problems as early as Friday, and then another round as the Thanksgiving holiday travel period get started. All that and much more in my complete Fox 5 Storm Team forecast.
All right, Jonathan, thanks so much. New at 4, Rabun County Schools employee is out on bond accused of grooming a minor for sexual offense. The investigation into Daniel Guevara began after the district alerted authorities about alleged inappropriate contact between Guevara and a minor. He was arrested and held for 4 days before he was released on $20,000 bond. The district immediately terminated his contract. Authorities are investigating whether other children may be involved. President Trump is expected to sign a bill that will force the Justice Department to release all its records related to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Hasn't happened yet, though. The Senate has officially passed the bill to release the Epstein files. Lawmakers immediately passed the bill this morning. It comes after the legislation received overwhelming bipartisan support from lawmakers on both sides of Capitol Hill yesterday. The bill gives the Justice Department 30 days to release all unclassified materials, including travel and financial records, emails, and interview transcripts in the Epstein case.
And when these files come out, and they will, it's going to shock the conscience of this country because the survivors have told us that there are a lot of people implicated.
The president has called the Epstein investigation a Democrat hoax, but says he will sign off on the files when they're on his desk. Again, we are awaiting that. The Justice Department faces a new hurdle in its federal case against former FBI Director James Comey. This morning, the department acknowledged a possible lapse in how the agency presented the case to a federal grand jury. The department admits a full grand jury did not review a copy of the indictment in the case. Today, Comey's lawyers asked a U.S. district judge to throw out the case. Lawyers accused the Department of Justice of being vindictive. There was not an immediate decision made in the case. It is set to go to trial just after New Year's Day. The day after 3 county commissioners made a public push to restore money to a veterans program, the Fulton County Commission this afternoon debated the issue. But once again, the full commission voted against restoring the $1 million for the program. Fox 5's Angelique Proctor joins us from the Fulton County Government Center with more of those details. Angelique.
Well, good afternoon, Christine. I can tell you this has been a marathon meeting. It started at 10 o'clock this morning, and as you can see behind me, this meeting is still underway. But you are correct. For the 6th time, the Fulton County Commissioners have failed to fund these veteran programs. Now, Commissioner Marvin Arrington Jr. sponsored the legislation that would have funded up to $1 million for social service programs, things like housing, mental health services, job placement, and other wraparound services. Well, after a lengthy discussion about program gaps and things that weren't working, the measure failed by a vote of 3-1. Keep in mind, you need 4 votes for a measure to pass. Now, Commissioners Bob Ellis and Bridget Thorne explained why they voted no.
What are the types of things, if we're going to have a grant program, that we should specifically focus it on to generate and meet and fill those gaps, if you will, as opposed to just throwing money out there and it not really having some intention behind it where we can measure the results.
And if the Veterans Commission comes forward and says, We think we can use $1 million. Again, we've regrouped. We're working with these organizations. I would feel comfortable doing that. But right now, I feel like just saying, oh, I'm putting $1 million towards veterans. I don't know what's going to be done. I'm not going to be used. And every commissioner who doesn't vote for it's against it. So vote for me. I'm going to use it to buy votes.
So it sounded like both of those commissioners want to hear more accountability to go along with this money. But we also learned something very important today, and that is yesterday one of the commissioners told us that this money was federal money, part of the American Rescue Act. We were told today that is not true. This money came out of the general fund. Now, will this be revisited again? We are told it will come up again in the next meeting. Reporting live from downtown, Angelique Proctor, Fox 5 News.
All right, Angelique, thanks for that live report. Big development out of the Atlanta Falcons camp. Quarterback Michael Penix Jr. will miss the remainder of the 2025 season. The team releasing a statement saying Penix will undergo season-ending surgery for a partially torn ACL and will be placed on injured reserve. The Falcons announced Kirk Cousins will be quarterback moving forward. This afternoon, Falcons head coach Raheem Morris discussed the changes to the offense as Cousins returns to the starting lineup.
So we'll be able to go out there and tailor the thing around Kirk, tailor it around our offense around Kirk, all the things that we want to be able to do with him, some of the things he's done well in his past, some of the things he's done well with us. We'll be able to go out there and do all those things in order to go get a win. And Kurt, obviously I have a big input in that, and we'll listen to him and take his input and be able to go out there and practice things we need to get practice. So we'll definitely tailor this offense the rest of the way around Kirk Cousins.
Cousins will start this Sunday against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. You can watch the game right here on Fox 5 at 4 p.m. on Sunday.
Hey y'all, this is Snoop. This fall marks the 25th anniversary of the Michael Eisenhower Toy Drive, which benefits the Atlanta Children's Shelter. Bring new unwrapped toys on November 19th as we take on West Georgia. Help us celebrate this amazing tech tradition. Get your tickets here at RamblerRate.com/tickets. Go Jackets.
If you're looking for a chance to give back this holiday season, the Georgia Tech women's basketball team has an opportunity for you. Tonight, you can bring toys to their home game against West Georgia. It'll benefit the Atlanta Children's Shelter. Tickets are as low as $11. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock. Speaking of tickets, we're giving you a chance to win tickets to the Georgia Tech football game next week, Friday, November 28th at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. To enter, go to fox5atlanta.com/contests. One lucky winner will get 4 tickets to the game. Be sure to enter by 10 a.m. on the 21st for your chance to win. Still ahead on Fox 5 News at 4, a local woman gets a new lease on life after beating lung cancer. The treatment that saved her life just ahead. Plus, an armed robbery suspect accused of pistol whipping a store clerk is off the streets. Fox 5's Doug Evans shares with us the video and details of the suspect's arrest. Next. Deputies in Coweta County have arrested an armed robbery suspect accused of pistol whipping a store clerk at a convenience store off I-85. Fox 5's Doug Evans has more on the arrest.
The suspect's accused of not only coming into the Shell station with a gun, he used it to strike the cashier as well.
Here's video of Coweta County deputies arresting 47-year-old Andrew Jackson Chitwood for armed robbery after identifying him as a suspect of the armed robbery November 10th of this Shell station off I-85. Deputies say they discovered he was a passenger in this car, and they pulled it over and took him into custody.
Deputies learned that a male entered the store with a handgun and demanded money and was able to obtain a large amount of cash before running off.
Chitwood is accused of robbing a clerk at gunpoint, then striking that person, too, with the gun. He's charged with armed robbery and second-degree battery. Investigators say they got some good breaks in the case.
Investigators were able to use security footage as well as other investigative means to identify Mr. Chitwood as a suspect.
The Coweta County Sheriff's Office says they'd been targeting the area around the Shell station with increased special enforcement because of crime associated with being right off the interstate.
Andrew Jackson Chitwood being held without bond here at the Coweta County Jail. In Coweta County, Doug Evans, Fox 5 News.
All right, let's talk weather again with meteorologist Jonathan Stacy. What happened to the sunshine today? I know it peeked through here and there earlier, but right now it's behind the clouds.
Playing peekaboo.
Like. Yeah.
Yeah, because we walked out at noon and it was thick, and then during the afternoon it was like, okay, 4 o'clock, I see you a little bit. Now it's like more clouds to moved in. And that's why I was really telling you that yesterday, Tuesday, was the ultimate weather day of the week because it was bright, it was warm. We're warming up still, but the clouds, they're in control for the remainder of the week going into the first part of the weekend. So there are a few things that I want you to keep in mind. Let's start with these three. Up first here is we've got some pre-Thanksgiving wet weather that we are watching, specifically as we get into Tuesday and potentially Wednesday of next week. Now, before you start thinking about the actual Thanksgiving day, there's a good chance that the front that brings us the wet weather on Tuesday and Wednesday could move through the area and is out of here by Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, which would lead to not only dry air, but some colder air coming in. As for the weekend, that will offer us up our next best chance for rain. It starts damp, but it will end dry. It looks like Sunday will be the brighter and drier day. But tonight, our problems will be of a different variety. Clouds have been in the sky all day, but they'll be on the ground first thing tomorrow morning. Fog moving in, lowering visibility. So heads up as you head out to work tomorrow. Maybe stepping outside of the house around 5 to 10 minutes above or before your usual time because the fog could be thick in some areas. I think the model overdoes the fog prevalence throughout the area, but nonetheless, here's your early warning. 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, the model's still showing that fog hanging around, lowering visibilities even in through the 10 o'clock hour. It's not like we're going to have sun bursting out. We're going to still have clouds, so it would be kind of a slow lift of the fog. As we get into the afternoon hours, obviously the visibility will improve. There is some blue sky as we take a live look out over downtown, midtown Atlanta on this Wednesday, but by and large, the clouds dominate the sky. With the current temperature 74 degrees at times today, we've hit 75. We're not shattering a record to any degree, but once again, we're still some 10 to 15 degrees above average for this time of the year. This southwesterly wind has not only warmed temperatures up, but it's also brought up the dew point. So let's work with me here. Keep in mind, the dew point right now is 62 degrees. Yesterday, there were times in which the dew point was in the 20s and the 30s. There's a lot of moisture that has moved in on the backs of this southerly flow, and we're going to pay for it firstly in the way of fog developing. Anytime you have a dew point temperature that matches the air temperature and winds are light, that means that you have the recipe for some fog to develop. A dew point at 62 degrees and air temperature of 61 degrees, that's how you're going to kick off your Thursday morning with foggy conditions, or at least the conditions will be right for fog to be present and prevalent throughout the area. It should burn off as we get into the late morning period, but the clouds, they don't go anywhere. Can you get a spritz or a sprinkle? That's possible, but the chances are pretty low tomorrow. We'll keep them around 10%. Maybe the sun poking his head out a bit as we get into the afternoon hours. Despite the lack of sunshine, temperatures will manage to return to the 70s. 77 degrees is my forecast high for tomorrow. That will fall about a degree below the record, so we could match it or perhaps exceeded, but by and large, the clouds are putting a bit of a damper on that record-shattering forecast that we were predicting earlier in the week. In terms of your rain chances, you can see here a spritz or a sprinkle on site tomorrow, but by and large, you have to wait until the sun goes down to watch this lobe of energy skate by Tennessee and North Carolina, impacting our state line counties up across far north Georgia. It's in and it's out, and we're back to dry conditions full out for Friday morning, but the clouds, they're still in place. I think we could have another round of fog, but by noon on Friday, we're watching showers move across the state line. They'll move from west to east across the area in a scattered variety. Got plans for Friday night? If they're outside, it's going to be touch and go because there will be periods of light to moderate and maybe even some heavy pockets of rain moving through. We're going to try to turn the rain off fairly quickly, though, on Saturday, so do not consider Saturday to be a washout. We are on record watch for tomorrow and Friday, but it looks like the wet weather will be the bigger story as we close out the work week going into the weekend. Christine?
All right, Jonathan, thanks so much. Time now for a look at Skyfox traffic and the evening rush hour. Better news for drivers making their way into Gwinnett County this evening. An earlier crash on 85 northbound after Pleasantdale Road has cleared to the right shoulder. All lanes are back open. Right now, it's going to take you 25 minutes to go from 285 up to 316. Speaking of 285, we're also seeing some delays, but trip times are still manageable over on the west side. Drivers on the perimeter could expect about a 19-minute ride now south from 75 down to the West Expressway. On the east side perimeter from 85 down to I-20, it's going to take you about 30 minutes. A local county is warning the community about a phone scam, what the sheriff's office wants you to know before pulling out your wallet. Also, Roblox is taking steps to keep kids safe. The new measure the gaming app is putting in place.
You can listen to Fox 5 Live on the Fox 5 Radio 1 network. Just tune your HD radio to 107.9 HD2 FM.
The Carroll County Sheriff's Office is warning the community about a jury duty phone scam. Scammers are reportedly posing as the sheriff and telling people they missed jury duty or failed to appear in court. They then tell them a warrant has been issued and offer two options: pay a bond or turn yourself in. The Carroll County Sheriff's Office will never call you to demand money for missing jury duty or threaten arrest. Roblox is announcing new age checks. It will require verification using facial recognition software before being able to chat with other players on the gaming platform. It's part of an effort to limit communication between kids and adults. The CEO joined Fox and Friends last month to discuss the push for more safety precautions.
There are millions of young people out there who get handed a cell phone and have access to apps where they can share the images of themselves, where they can communicate freely. We want parents to know Roblox is very, very different. We don't allow image sharing.
The new changes will begin in select markets in December and will expand globally in January. All right, after the break, a local woman is sharing her story after beating lung cancer. The treatment, she says, saved her life. When we come back, Jonathan.
The warm trend continues, but the dry trend not so much. Cloudy today, possibly raining into the weekend, and then the Thanksgiving travel holiday looking a bit dicey to start. All that and much more coming up next in your Fox 5 Storm Team forecast.
All right, let's get you caught back up on your weather forecast. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacy joining me. You did say today or yesterday was going to be the better of the day compared to today.
Yeah.
Even though it's still nice out.
It's not
like it's a bad day.
It's problem free.
Yeah.
We could have bigger issues on our hand during this time of the year.
Very true.
But it just does not look as great. We had so much sunshine yesterday.
Yeah.
It was kind of.
It was hard to top that.
Yeah, it was hard to top it. I don't think we'll do it again because we're going to throw some rain in the picture. Like today, tomorrow we'll throw in a 10% chance for showers. And then Friday morning starts off okay. It'll still have some clouds around for the first part of of the day, but overnight I would spike this rain chance to about 60% and then soften it as we get into the first part of the day, Saturday. So it's really your Friday evening and Saturday morning plans that have the chance to get doused as we have a front moving through the area. The front is in our rearview mirror by Saturday evening. Going into Sunday, we're dry. Monday, we're dry, but then a front moves in, and it's likely going to give us our best shot for rain as it makes its passage on Tuesday. Still likely not done first thing Wednesday morning. What that does mean, will likely recover before Thanksgiving. Meteorologist Alex Forbes is standing by. He's going to dig into your pre-Thanksgiving travel forecast as we get in deeper into the hour. But when we look at the next 7-day period, you can see here the bulk of the rainfall will be featured across points to the north and to the west of town. It's really the Tennessee Valley and the Mid-South that's about to get a whole lot of rain over the next 7 days. We're going to try to squeeze some moisture out of the fronts that parade across our area. But as you can see here, as we get further from the city going to the south and to the east, the rain chances they're pretty low. It looks like most communities stand to get somewhere on either side of 1/4 of an inch, possibly a 1/2 inch, especially up across northwest Georgia if you are lucky. So let's go ahead and make sense of all this. High pressure down to the south that is riding the panhandle there is pushing that southerly air in our direction, and it's warming things up. But you also have a front that's come to town, and it doesn't want to budge. In fact, with that high being where it is, it can't move further to the south. So with it remaining in place, we're going to keep the clouds around. Even when it's not raining or rain is not really in the forecast, the clouds are going to stick around. It's fog tomorrow morning, clouds by the afternoon still, and maybe a lobe of energy skipping the state lines of Tennessee and North Carolina, impacting our northernmost counties tomorrow going into Friday morning. But the big time stuff is lying in wait back out to the west. And you can see here by Friday to start the morning, things are still fairly dry. We're picking up on high pressure that's rolling over the peninsula at that point. But then as the day goes on, it deteriorates. Our rain chances spike going into the evening, overnight hours, first thing Saturday morning. But look at the model. It tries to push that front to the south fairly quickly. And that is good news, because that means that we'll likely be able to recover the second half of Saturday with some sunshine. The winds will ratchet up a bit, and it could still be a bit breezy out there. But the temperatures do not take a big tumble until we get closer to the holiday. Once again, meteorologist Alex Forbes will have a look at that part of the forecast coming up in just a few.
All right, Jonathan, thanks so much. Time now for a look at Skyfox traffic and the evening rush hour again. We're looking live at the downtown connector here, where there's a crash northbound at I-20 and one right lane is blocked. Drivers can expect added delays backed up to University Boulevard. The good news, it does look like this could clear soon, so we'll keep watching it for you. Up on the north side in Cobb County, the drive up 75 northbound is still looking good. Right now, it's about a 26-minute ride from 285 to Wade Green Road, with delays picking up after the 575 split. Taking a look at our top stories, we continue to follow the gas explosion at a vacant 3-story building in Atlanta last night. It happened at the Northside Plaza apartment homes across from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Firefighters say the vacant building was under renovation at the time, and one man was hurt in the blast. At this point, it's unclear what caused the explosion, but investigators remain on the scene. Deputies in Coweta County have arrested an armed robbery suspect accused of pistol whipping a store clerk at a convenience store off I-85. This happened back on November 10th at the Shell station just off the highway. Deputies arrested 47-year-old Andrew Jackson Chitwood after a traffic stop. He now faces multiple charges, including armed robbery and second-degree battery. Today, the Fulton County Commission debated efforts to restore money to a vital veterans program. Just one day, 3 commissioners publicly called for the restoration of the funding. But for a 6th time, the full commission voted against restoring the $1 million for the program. The money would go towards things like housing, mental health services, job placement, and other wraparound services, but it failed with a vote of 3-1. A senior citizen has survived a serious bout with cancer. Doctors diagnosed the retired flight attendant with lung cancer, even though she never smoked. Her treatment is an example of the continued progress doctors have made in treating cancer. Here's Fox 5's Kevin Stewart with her story.
Her story is a triumphant story. It's worth noting that roughly 20% of the people who are diagnosed with lung cancer have never smoked.
And I said, I feel fine, but I got this silly little cough.
It's been 4 years, but Joanne Cure can remember the day.
I was diagnosed March 3rd.
Like yesterday, the day doctors diagnosed her with lung cancer.
You think I have lung cancer, don't you? She said, yeah, I do.
Less than a month later, tests revealed the cancer had spread.
She says, you've got brain cancer. And I went, what? I said, this is not a joke. He says, no, this is serious. He says, that's what makes you stage 4. Right there, because it had metastasized. You have to understand, I've never had a headache in my life.
Doctors gave her 2 years to live. Now she stands here at 78 years old with her family in remission. Surviving stage 4 lung cancer in her 70s is special.
Yeah.
So says her oncologist, Dr. Iwana Bunta, a miracle.
Thankfully, we see more and more miracles these days with the new tools that we have in our toolbox.
Cure not only had the upper left lobe of her lung removed,
and I kept saying, I want this out. I want this out.
She also took a drug, osimertinib, specifically for people like her with an EGFR mutation. That mutation can cause cells to grow wildly and lead to cancer.
I know it's just alphabet soup, but to us it's so meaningful. Those cancer cells, when they don't grow, they die. So the cancer not only stops spreading, but also starts shrinking.
Staying in step with me. When our paths lead to a cliff, be willing to climb it.
Cure, who describes herself as stubborn and optimistic, credits her faith with getting her through all of this and told doctors early on she was going to live a lot longer, at least to 88.
Because I believe.
In Houston, Kevin Stewart, Fox 5 News.
President Trump rolls back his tariffs in an effort to drop prices in the grocery store in time for Thanksgiving. The changes you could see on store shelves.
And I'm at Zoo Atlanta, where they're preparing for a couple very fun events as we move into the holiday season. I'll have details on all of the family fun coming up after the break.
We are rolling into the holiday season. Zoo Atlanta is preparing to flip the switch to its annual Illuminates at the zoo. Fox 5 Storm Team meteorologist Lauren Robinson joins us live from Zoo Atlanta with more on this year's event. Tell us more about it, Lauren.
Hey, Christine, that's right. I'm at Zoo Atlanta, where they're gearing up for a couple really big events. And a bit of a tease behind me is you can see this leopard that's glowing a little bit. It's a lot of fun to see. Bit. That's just a quick taste of what they'll be having here at Zoo Atlanta. So right now I'm with Amy, who is telling me about a couple of upcoming events, one of them being Gather and Glow. So what is Gather and Glow?
So Gather and Glow is a 21 and up Illuminate. So we've had lots of surveys. This is our 5th year of Illuminates, and people say, I want to be there just with adults. So tomorrow night on November 20th from 5:30 to 9:30, you can come experience Illuminates just with your adult friends and family. And we have a few extra things. It comes with a hot chocolate or a hot cider, with or without maybe a little extra spirit in there.
Right.
And then we've got some characters, and Dad's Garage is going to be performing as well.
Oh, fantastic. And so that's the 20, and it's just a one-night special, right?
One night.
And then after that is where we have Illuminates that goes for a few nights, for a few months, actually. What is Illuminates?
So Illuminates is our Lantern Festival. It opens on Friday, and it goes through January 18th. We are open. The regular zoo closes at 5. We open back up at 5:30, and you get this beautiful tour of lanterns. We've got many different animals, a lot of flowers, beautiful lanterns all around the zoo. It's about a mile-long walk. A little bit different than the traditional lighting experiences in Atlanta, and it's great for families, but it's also great for date night. And so you just don't have to only come to Gather and Glow. You can come anytime.
All right, sounds like a couple really fun events. Again, we have Gather and Glow that'll happen tomorrow night or Thursday night, and then through the rest of the season, you certainly want to check out Illuminates at the zoo. For now, reporting from Zoo Atlanta, I'm meteorologist Lauren Robinson.
Yeah, sounds like lots of fun. Lauren, thanks so much. Caught on camera, a man uses a forklift to steal an ATM. See the moment he was confronted by officers next. Don't forget to join us tonight at 7 for The Pulse. We'll chat about the stories that have you talking. Tonight, we're taking a look at the best time to eat Thanksgiving dinner. You can join the conversation now by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to fox5atlanta.com/pulse. The Trump administration is taking steps to completely dismantle the Department of Education. Several agreements signed yesterday shift several offices and grant programs out of the department's control. Higher education grant programs and others like it will be moved into the Department of Labor. The department says the agreements will not affect funds to states, colleges, and schools that are granted by Congress. The American Farm Bureau Federation says the ingredients for a classic Thanksgiving meal will be lower for a third straight year. That's because of discounted turkeys, but about half of other items you will need for the meal will be pricier than last year. The Farmers Group says grocery stores have featured deals to draw shoppers back to buying a turkey. The cost of a Thanksgiving dinner for 10 people, just over $55 or about $5.50 a person. Turkey prices are down 16%. The box of stuffing costs 9% less. Dinner rolls 15% less. Sweet potatoes are up 37%. There are small declines for frozen pie crusts and cranberries. President Trump has now rolled back tariffs on some basic food items in recent days. The administration is dropping tariffs on basic food items like coffee, tea, cocoa, beef, and some fruits, nuts, and spices. The goal is to bring prices down at the grocery store.
Prices are coming down. He said we were up 40% because of Biden and inflation, and they're coming down, and they're coming down rapidly. So my pledge to every family and every small business is that I will not rest until you are richer, stronger, more successful, happier.
The president signed the executive order Friday, but it's unclear when shoppers will start seeing the difference. Some business owners tell us, though, relief can't come soon enough. The owner of Southern Steer Butcher tells us prices just keep going up. In fact, the cost of beef is up nearly 15%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And that has some shoppers cutting back or looking for something cheaper.
We've had to be pretty nimble. Prices have gone up tremendously over the last few months. I held off as much as I could. It does hurt margins, but my customers are still shopping. Even with some modest price increases, they're still showing up and still have a huge demand for steaks. Some are making a switch to chicken or pork, cheaper options.
The rollback applies to more than 200 items, and according to the White House, these are things that aren't easily made or grown in the U.S. With a Thanksgiving menu set, families are now focused on what the weather will be like on the holiday. It's a very important question. Fox 5 meteorologist Alex Forbes joins us from the weather deck with a look at the travel forecast. And Alex, we're not the only ones on the warmer side this Thanksgiving.
No, and certainly not across the southeastern United States. It's now getting to that point in the week where I'm getting more and more questions like, all right, I know it's not on the 7-day yet, but next Thursday, what's going to happen there? Well, I've got some answers for you. I've also got some answers as to what's going to happen around us, because if you're hitting the road, there's some information you're going to want to know. So let's check it out here. Here's what we've got on the docket, all right? A wet pattern is setting up to the west of us leading up to Thanksgiving, all right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and honestly, that includes us here in the metro area. Jonathan was telling you about that earlier. Showers are going to be possible in Georgia as early as Tuesday when you're looking at the week next week. And for Thanksgiving, I'm looking at cooler weather with some showers around potentially for the holiday itself. Now, let me show you what's going on here in terms of the map in the southeastern United States. This is going to be your travel forecast now Monday through about Thursday. That's about the degree of confidence I have in this now. So 73 in Atlanta on Monday. Notice back out to the west, though. If you're headed up towards Memphis, Little Rock, Houston, Dallas on Monday, that's where you're going to run into some wet weather. That front pushes towards us here in Georgia by the time we get to Tuesday, right? But if you're driving to Birmingham, you're driving down to Mobile, yeah, you're likely running into some showers there as well. That's going to be a fun day on the road. And then here we go into Wednesday. That shifts more so into Florida, right? So now I'm looking at people driving down towards Orlando or Jacksonville. Might be raining when you leave the house, so you might just follow the rain all the way down. And then once you get into Thursday here, this is going to be Thanksgiving itself now. I'm looking for temperatures here in Atlanta. Look at that, much cooler, 59, but with some showers down there in Florida. So that's what we got on the docket, Christine. That's where the degree of confidence I have, if you will. We'll, of course, be talking about the travels back to North Georgia coming here in the days ahead.
Yeah, that whole Thanksgiving weekend is going to matter weather-wise. Okay, Alex, thanks so much for the heads up. Well, two planes make contact on the tarmac. A man tries to steal an ATM with a forklift, and an NBA player is heard screaming for the ball during a game this week. Fox 5's Courtney Bryant joins us now with stories making headlines across America. Courtney.
Hey, Christine, we'll start in Florida, where a sheriff's deputy helped rescue a 70-year-old woman. He helped her to escape from a house fire. Body camera video shows the deputy quickly getting to the woman who was trying to climb out the window and carry her to safety. Officials say a cooking accident is what caused the fire. Witnesses could see flames coming through the roof as they got to safety. Thankfully, no one was hurt. In Houston, two United Airlines planes hit each other at the Bush Intercontinental Airport. We're told United Flight 544 was preparing to taxi when it made contact with the wing of United Flight 2541, which had just pushed back from the gate as well. The two planes' wings clipped, but fortunately they were both able to return to their gates. No injuries were reported, and all passengers were placed on new planes.
What's up, bro? What y'all got going on? Dropped this thing over here. Dropped what?
Police arrested a man stealing an ATM with a forklift. 38-year-old Joshua Hidalgo tried to run from police. Tallahassee police say they saw him on the forklift early yesterday morning. Surveillance cameras show he was casually driving it through town, and the suspect was caught and arrested.
Got his hands on it twice.
LaMelo screaming for the ball, sets up pinball. That's how you do it.
Did you hear that? That was LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets screaming for the ball in a game against the Toronto Raptors this week. Once he had the ball, he dished it out to another teammate who drained the open three-point shot. Unfortunately, Charlotte would still lose the game in a nail-biter, 110-108. If he didn't have to scream for the ball, maybe they would have won that game.
No, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of the way it works, though. You want the ball.
Yeah.
You got to show it. You got to do something. Yeah. Exactly. He sounded like the guy who was screaming yesterday about the goat.
Yes.
That was chasing him.
Did.
That's what that reminded me of.
It's a good effort, though.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
We'll be back after this.
If you have an Amazon Alexa-enabled device in your home, ask her to enable the Fox 5 Atlanta skill so you can get local updates anytime straight from Fox 5.
Time now to take a look at what's ahead on Fox 5 News at 5. Fox 5 anchor Tom Haines joins us live in studio with a quick preview.
Okay, Christine, coming up all new and next at 5 tonight, we have new developments in the multi-million-dollar project at DeKalb Peachtree Airport. The decision from DeKalb County Board of Commissioners is coming up. And new video this evening of the moments following an explosion at an Atlanta apartment complex late Tuesday night. Coming up, we'll hear from a Good Samaritan who rushed in to save a man injured in the accident right near Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Well, all of that and so much more when you join us. All new and next for Fox 5 News at 5. It starts right after the break.
Fox 5 News at 5 starts right now.
A store clerk is recovering after an armed robbery. Tonight at 5, how police say the violent crime unfolded.
Fulton County representatives are working to help veterans. Ahead tonight, their efforts to serve the men and women who served our country. But first, a gas explosion ripped through a vacant 3-story apartment building in downtown Atlanta, injuring a man and sending debris everywhere. It may have been caused by an attempt to steal copper. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Courtney.